Chapter 757. However, the news had already been released, so Lin could only grit his teeth and do as he pleased. At the very least, Su Qinyun's slogans were all based on facts and some artistic manipulation, so they weren't bullsh*t. Look at the representative of the ancient man tribe, Little Lang. In his werewolf form, his aura was vast and mighty, and his return to void stage power was on full display. Then look at the representative of the fairy tribe, Little Na. She possessed the essence of the sun and moon, and her flawless body shimmered under the sun. No one dared to look down on her. Next, let's look at Xiao Zhe, the legendary primordial dragon tribe member. Even though he only had the appearance of a young man, he was like a meditating monk in the face of such a grand occasion. He sat down with his eyes closed in an obvious spot on the Dao Plaza and remained calm and collected, displaying the demeanor of a member of the dragon tribe. Even the liquid flowing from the corner of his mouth was dragon jade saliva. Next, it was the representative of the blood tribe, Bryce. He transformed into a small sapling and stood proudly in the dirt, F***ck. I can't make this up anymore. Many of the visiting sect representatives were already looking at them suspiciously. Their gazes seemed to be saying, "I'm afraid we've come to a fake sect." Lin transmitted his voice to all of his beast pets in disappointment. Where's your show-off attitude? Our sect's dignity has been completely tarnished by you guys. Can't you at least act like a return to void stage mighty figure? His voice had only just fallen when a loud announcement drowned out all of the commotion. The representative of the Vermilion Bird sect, Elder Zhu Yuanzhou, and his entourage have arrived. This was the first minor climax of the Dao Plaza. The four great sects of the Kingdom of the Nine States were all extremely powerful sects, even in the context of the entire continent. A middle-aged man with red hair and a beard made his way over to the Dao Plaza with a group of sect disciples. There were many familiar figures among them. Lin and Su Xiaolan made their way over to them. "Uncle, you're finally here." Su Xiaolan smiled sweetly. "Hello, Uncle." Lin also chimed in. Zhu Yuanzhou looked at the couple before him with a disgruntled expression. "You two only know how to stir up trouble." Lin smiled in embarrassment. Su Xiaolan held on to Zhu Yuanzhou's arm and said coquettishly, "What did second uncle say? Let me make this clear first. The 4-9 Immortal sect is the blood, sweat, and tears of Lin and I, and we definitely won't give up on it." Tisk! Zhu Yuanzhou glared at Lin with an enraged expression. "The sect leader has said that you can teach the Vermilion Bird sect mantras in the 4-9 Immortal sect, but you can't reveal the core mantras of the sect. Of course, if it's a mental cultivation method that you created yourself, then it's up to you." "Yes. I know this." Su Xiaolan got permission, and the smile on her face couldn't help but widen. The cultivators of the other sects were astounded when they heard the conversation between the two. Previously, they had thought that the four great sects' inheritances were just a gimmick. After all, the Tao could not be easily passed down. No top sect would allow their cultivation methods to be used by other sections. Never would he have thought that the 4-9 Immortal sect would be serious, and the Vermilion Bird sect had allowed it. That was F***king bad *SS. Even if they couldn't cultivate the core cultivation methods, the other cultivation methods of the Vermilion Bird sect were still top-notch. It could be said that just this alone was enough to attract countless prodigies to the 4-9 Immortal sect. As the sect leader, Lin was dragged off to the side by Mo Hai, Yang Yuan, Lan Yen, and the others. "I heard that you and Goddess Su can only become Dao partners after 100 years? Yang Yuan asked with incredulity in his voice. "Bullsh*t. 99 years is all it takes," Lin retorted. "Everyone, brother Lin, have you F***king gone F***king insane? Do you want to be a saint for 99 years? Don't you know how to strike while the iron is hot?" Mo Hai was astonished. "That doesn't make sense. They're clearly in love. so why would they have to wait so long? A thought suddenly occurred to Lan Yen. Could it be that you've been afflicted with some kind of terrifying curse that prevents you from getting erect for 100 years? Pfff. And Lin threw up a mouthful of blood as he begged for mercy. Please don't heal me. He was scared. This woman's words had struck him with a strong sense of discomfort. After all, he really did almost become a eunuch for 100 years. In the Greenwood Imperial Family Delegation, Su Wenjun sighed with emotion as he looked at the Vermilion Bird Sect delegation. It looks like the 4-9 Immortal Sect really isn't just for show. I wonder if our Imperial family will be happy or worried about such a massive force. Isn't that simple? If Enlin marries our Yunlo, that would definitely be a joyous occasion. Su Xian's eyes lit up as he suggested. Su Wenjun rolled his eyes at Su Xian. You're such a fake big brother. Not long after that, another loud announcement sounded. The representatives of the mythological beast sect, Bai Xian and his entourage have arrived. The vast Dao Plaza erupted into another uproar. Bai Xian, one of the 3 immortal beast overlords of the mythological beast sect, had also arrived. This was a major event. Father, Mother. Dabai pounced over excitedly and started licking Bai Xian and Chun's faces. Slap. Dabai was slapped to the ground by Bai Xian. There's so many people here, be more reserved, woof. Bai Xian snapped. Enlin also made his way over to welcome the mythological beast sect group. The racial barrier made him a little face-blind, and he stared at the dogs in front of him with a dumbstruck expression. All of them looked a lot like Dabai. After much difficulty, he finally recognized Dabai's parents, Bai Xian and Chun, as well as Dabai's girlfriend in name, Qing Hua. Dabai, why don't you go lick Jing Hua? Enlin couldn't help but ask. Qing Hua blushed upon hearing this. Dabai chuckled lightly. You want to trick me into going to Jing Hua? No way. Slap. Dabai was slapped to the ground by Bai Xian again. If you're a male dog, then you should face reality. Marry a female dog and live a good life. Don't dream about all these unrealistic fantasies. Bai Xian advised with the tone of an experienced person. He then turned to Enlin with a solemn expression. Mr. Enlin, thank you for taking care of me all these years. My child has improved a lot. Furthermore, Dabai can teach the mythological beast sect's cultivation methods as the Pavilion Lord. He can teach them however he wants. In any case, he hasn't mastered the core cultivation methods yet, so it's up to him if he can teach any prodigies. Enlin, Father Wolf. Dabai was filled with grief and indignation. Should I say, as expected of my biological father? Bai Xian's declaration created another stir on the Dao Plaza. It was quite clear that the mythological beast sect had also allowed their cultivation methods to be taught at the 4-9 Immortal sect. The status of the 4-9 Immortal sect was elevated once again in the hearts of all the sect representatives. However, this was not the end. Soon, the representatives of the 10,000 Spirits Immortal sect also arrived. They were led by the Peak Lord of the Earth Spirit Peak, Bu Gudan. He was a dark-skinned middle-aged man, and Enlin had an impression of him. He had also participated in the battle against the Snow Maidens, and he was extremely powerful. Bu Gudan also conveyed the instructions of sect leader Xianyuan Lun that Xianyuan Cheng could teach the 10,000 spirits cultivation method as he saw fit. This restriction was a sign of Xianyuan Cheng's great trust. It meant that he was free to teach the 10,000 spirits cultivation method as he pleased. This was definitely his biological father. All of the sect representatives were envious upon seeing this. Some of the cultivators were even contemplating whether they could leave their original sects and join the 4-9 Immortal sect. Hey! Have you guys realized that some of the Pavilion Lords of the 4-9 Immortal sect are extremely F***king important members of the 4 Great Sects? Are there some shady deals going on here? What a terrifying network of connections! Say, the other 3 sects of the 4 Great Sects are here. Do you think the Heaven's Sword sect is also related? Gasp. The four great sects are all here? Could it be that the hype is all true? However, just as all of the sect representatives were discussing spiritedly, an announcement sounded. Sect leader Lu Mingxian of the Heavenly Sword sect and his delegation have arrived. The announcement had only just fallen, and the entire venue was in an uproar. Chapter 758. This announcement really caused a sensation akin to a magnitude 10 earthquake. If the Heavenly Sword sect had only sent a representative, everyone would have been quite surprised, but they could still accept it. However, what no one would have thought was that the sect leader of the Heavenly Sword sect would come in person. This was a Tao integration stage super mighty figure, a legendary super mighty figure. To think that he would travel thousands of kilometers to attend this sect's inauguration ceremony. Wasn't he giving them too much face? Some of the sword cultivators even began to tear up at the sight of the refined white-robed man. To sword users, Lu Mingxian was a god and a cultivation base that they pursued their entire lives. This was for no other reason than the fact that Lu Mingxian was the #1 sword user in the world. This was not a title given to him by the Kingdom of the Nine States. Instead, it was a title that was publicly acknowledged by the entire Tai Chu continent as a peerless sword immortal who had transcended beyond this world. After a brief moment of absent-mindedness, Unlin still made his way over to welcome this super supreme member out of the responsibility of being the sect leader. You're the sect leader of the 4-9 Immortal sect, Unlin? Lu Mingxian wore a smile on his face, and he didn't put on any airs. That's right. Welcome, sect leader Lu Mingxian. Your presence truly brings light to our sect. Unlin also smiled. He had a good impression of this warm, middle-aged man. Lu Mingxian nodded with approval. You really are a young hero. You are the most dazzling among the younger generation of cultivators. By the way, where is my daughter? Before Enlin had a chance to react, the sound of light footsteps sounded from behind him. Father, why are you here? Lu Qianhuan's voice was completely devoid of its usual playfulness. Instead, it was as cold as a snow lotus on an icy mountain. A warm smile appeared on Lu Mingxuan's face. Huan, I'm here to see you. You haven't even come back to the sect after graduation, so I came to see how you're doing. If you're trying to persuade me to go back, then forget about it. I've already decided to stay at the 4-9 Immortal sect, Lu Qianhuan said with a hint of determination in her eyes. If you stay here without a master to guide you, your talent in swordsmanship will be buried. If you return to the sect, I can guarantee that you'll be the first sword immortal to reach the return to void stage in the Kingdom of the Nine States, and you might even surpass me in the future. Lu Mingxian finally revealed his intentions. If you want the 4-9 Immortal sect to continue to develop, I can arrange for a return to void stage sword immortal from the Heavenly Sword sect to reside here as the Sword Pavilion Lord. Until now, you still don't know what I want? Lu Qianhuan raised her head, and her bright purple eyes dimmed slightly. There was also a hint of pain in her eyes. Since Huan likes to stay here, just let her be. We should respect her decision, a beautiful woman dressed in palace attire beside Lu Mingxian said. Lu Qianhuan glared at the beautiful woman in the palatial dress. Zhu Shan, I'm talking to my father. It's not your place to interrupt. Enlin was surprised. This was the first time he had seen such a hot-tempered Lu Qianhuan. Huan, don't go overboard. Lu Mingxian scolded. Mingxian, don't blame her, it's all my fault. Zhu Shan tugged on Lu Mingxuan's sleeve with an aggrieved expression. If there's nothing else, I'll be going now, Lu Qianhuan said expressionlessly. She really did turn around to leave. However, she was forcibly held back by Lu Mingxian at this moment. Huan, I'm doing this for your own good. I think you need to calm down before we talk. Lu Mingxuan's brows were tightly furrowed, but his voice was extremely solemn. At this moment, at the gate of the 4-9 Immortal sect, Tang Shimin was standing at the gate, acting as a gate guard. One sect representative after another flew toward him to examine their invitations. Only with his approval could they enter the 4-9 Immortal Sect's territory and participate in the 4-9 Immortal Sect's grand opening ceremony. There was no helping it. The 4-9 Immortal Sect's territory was only so big, and if all sorts of people were allowed in, the situation would become extremely chaotic. Hence, Unlin had set up a barrier. Only mid-tier sects with soul formation stage powerful beings could receive invitations from the Greenwood Imperial family and participate in the grand opening ceremony. Even though the barrier was set, countless sects still came to attend. One sect after another came to visit, and senior student Tang was completely exhausted. Right at this moment, two very special guests appeared before him. "Big brother, can we go in?" The little girl's voice was very sweet, and her eyes were very large and clear. She had a pair of exquisite features, and even though her clothes were very simple and plain, she was still very adorable. Tang Shimin was a little dumbstruck. The people who had appeared before him were two mortals with no cultivation base fluctuations whatsoever. Do you have invitations?" Tang Shimin was a little perplexed, but perhaps this was a unique hobby of some sects? Hence, he decided to ask them as a matter of routine. The little girl and the elderly woman looked at each other with embarrassment and disappointment on their faces. "Big brother, I don't have an invitation, can I go in?" The little girl looked at Tang Shimin with a pleading expression. Tang Shimin was even more dumbstruck. "You don't have an invitation, why would you suddenly want to come here? You're mortals." Two mortals had traveled thousands of kilometers to celebrate the establishment of their sect with a group of powerful cultivators. This was King Weird. The elderly woman spoke at this moment. "We encountered a Taoist priest with a cow nose, and he told us that we have an immortal fate with your sect leader, which is why he asked us to come here. He also said that if your sect leader sees us, he'll definitely bestow upon us an immortal fate." Now this was interesting. Tang Shimin's eyes lit up, and his gossipy soul burned brightly. "Who is the Taoist priest who told you this?" The two of them shook their heads with dumbstruck expressions. "Tang Shimin, is Enlin your father?" Tang Shimin looked at the little girl with curiosity in his eyes. He was already imagining Enlin's romantic soap opera in his mind. The two of them stared at Tang Shimin with confusion on their faces. The little girl then came to her senses and exclaimed excitedly, "So the sect leader's name is Enlin?" Tang Shimin, within the 4-9 Immortal Sect. On the Dao Plaza where the celebration was to be held. Enlin was still spectating the drama between Lu Qianhuan and her father, so he couldn't find any time to interject. A 5- or 6-year-old boy chuckled as he chased after a fleeing butterfly. He had even unleashed a simple spell technique to accelerate his speed, but he ran too quickly and crashed into a walking elderly woman. Bam! Thump! The sound of bones exploding erupted, and the elderly woman was knocked flying. Her body tumbled to the ground, and she clutched her chest as her wrinkled face twisted into a chrysanthemum flower. She wailed in agony, and blood trickled from the corners of her lips. The boy was dumbstruck as he stared blankly at the scene before him. "Grandma!" The little girl screamed and immediately ran toward the elderly woman. She began to sob upon seeing that the elderly woman had sustained severe injuries and was bleeding from the corners of her lips. "Wah! Grandma, are you all right? Don't scare me. This has got nothing to do with me." The boy pointed at the severely wounded elderly woman with a panicked expression. "It's all that elderly woman's fault. I didn't pay attention to where I was and bumped into her lightly. Who would have thought that she would be so easily injured? This has got nothing to do with me." The little girl rushed toward the boy with a hysterical expression. "My grandma is dying. Save my grandma." The boy was given a massive fright, and he abruptly shoved the little girl away. The little girl's body was knocked flying, and her petite body tumbled to the ground, leaving a few bloody gashes on her body. "So weak? There are no cultivation-based fluctuations. Are you all mortals? The boy came to his senses, but a hint of disdain appeared in his eyes. Mortals deserve to be knocked around like this. The little girl on the ground trembled with pain, indignation, rage, humiliation. She shot a glance at her grandmother, who was in so much pain that she couldn't even speak. The boy was clearly in the wrong, so why? She picked up a rock from the side of the road and hurled it at the boy. She yelled, "So what if you're a cultivator?" The boy froze in place, or rather, he was frightened by the rock that was hurtling toward him. Impudent! A female roar erupted. Zhu Shan suddenly appeared before the boy, and she waved a sleeve through the air to instantly pulverize the rock. The terrifying energy continued onward, sweeping toward the little girl. The little girl was petrified. She felt as if she were nothing more than an ant, and she had no chance of resisting. Was this an immortal? Was this a mortal? Tears welled up in her eyes, and her petite body trembled instinctively as she helplessly accepted the cruel fate that was about to befall her. Right at this moment, a white-robed figure suddenly appeared before her. He was so abrupt, yet so reliable. The man also waved a sleeve through the air to dispel the terrifying energy surging toward him. "Are you King retarded? Why are you trying to kill a girl with no cultivation base?" Chapter 759. Zhu Shan's expression darkened slightly. "She wanted to hurt my son. If I had arrived just a second later, my son would have been the one injured." "So you're going to kill her?" The white-robed man was none other than Enlin, and he shielded the trembling little girl behind him as he spoke in a cold voice. Zhu Shan's brows furrowed slightly, but she didn't even get a chance to say anything before the little boy came to his senses and roared, "A mere mortal wants to hurt the son of the sect leader of our heavenly sword sect? Doesn't she deserve to die?" Boom! A golden light flashed past Enlin's eyes, and as a ripple spread outward, a boundless might suddenly burst forth from his eyes. It was as if the wrath of a god from the 9 heavens had descended upon the boy. Zhu Shan's expression shifted, and she immediately tried to defend herself. However, Enlin's spiritual power was far superior to that of a Return to Void stage mighty figure, and he had unleashed his divine might technique. So it was not something that a rookie Return to Void stage mighty figure like her could defend herself against. Her heart instantly shuddered at the sight of Enlin's glare. The little boy was so terrified that he collapsed to the ground as liquid flowed from his crotch. "The adults are talking, so why are you interrupting?" Enlin spoke in an indifferent voice. It's that little boy. He ran over and injured my grandma, then pushed me instead of saving her. Big brother, please save my grandma." The little girl felt as if she were grasping at straws as tears welled up in her eyes, and her voice trembled as she spoke. Enlin glanced at the elderly man who was still lying on the ground, and he immediately identified the extent of his injuries. She was already nearing the end of her lifespan, and her internal organs had been damaged by that collision, so she was in an even more dire situation. All of the sect representatives stared at the scenes unfolding before their eyes with dumbstruck expressions. Everything had happened far too abruptly, and they knew that they shouldn't step in. On one side was the 4-9 Immortal sect, and on the other side was the Heavenly Sword sect. They wouldn't be able to benefit either side, so they might as well just stand by and watch. "Tina, go save her," Enlin instructed. The little fairy immediately flew toward the elderly woman and unleashed an extremely powerful healing technique to quickly heal her injuries. "What's going on?" At this moment, Lu Mingxian walked over. Even though he saw his son peeing all over the ground, his expression didn't change at all. "Mingxian." Tears welled up in Zhu Shan's eyes as she picked up the boy from the ground and comforted him with a pitiable expression. Wenbin was given quite a fright. "It's all my fault for not protecting him. If I had arrived any later, Wenbin would've." Enlin stared at the woman before him with a cold expression. No wonder Lu Qianhuan had called her a seductive B*TC. She sure had a lot of drama. Lu Qianhuan walked toward Enlin. She glanced at the old woman on the ground and the wounded little girl behind Enlin, and a frosty expression appeared on her face as she stared coldly at the boy standing not far away. What happened? It's very simple. Lu Wenbin accidentally bumped into the old woman, refused to apologize, and shoved the little girl. The little girl threw a rock at him, and Zhu Shan appeared in a fit of rage. She shattered the rock and attacked the little girl. If it weren't for sect leader Enlin, the little girl would have most likely died. After that, sect leader Enlin taught Lu Wenbin a lesson. A male follower of the Heavenly Sword sect explained in a slow voice. As he spoke, his attention was not on anyone. Instead, he was focused on playing with his phone. That's right. He had been playing with his phone the entire time. Enlin was a little surprised. Could this be Lu Qianhuan's first King teacher? The aggrieved expression on Zhu Shan's face became even more pronounced upon hearing this. Lu Wenbin recovered from the shock of peeing himself, and he began to bawl his eyes out. He pointed at Enlin and sobbed. "Father, that man bullied me. He bullied me. What this kind of person deserves." He didn't even get a chance to finish his sentence before Zhu Shan pinched him on the waist. He deserves to be taught a lesson. Lu Mingxian immediately pulled out a high-rank spirit pill. Mr. Enlin, Wenbin was in the wrong here. Give this spirit pill to that old man, and we'll let this matter rest. Lu Wenbin was instantly displeased to hear this, and he sobbed loudly. "Father, I was scared shitless by that man, and a lowly mortal threw a rock at me. Why are you only accusing me of being in the wrong? There's no need for the spirit pill." Enlin pointed at the boy in Zhu Shan's arms with a serious expression. "Tell that child to apologize to the old woman and the little girl, and we'll let this matter rest." "Are you insane? You want me to apologize? Why aren't you apologizing to me?" Lu Wenbin yelled. Lu Mingxuan's brows furrowed slightly. "Children don't know any better, so why don't we just let this matter rest?" "I really can't let this matter rest. This is my sect, and I can't just sit back and do nothing." Enlin refused to back down. Everyone was stunned. It was clear that Lu Mingxian had already conceded and was willing to offer medicine to treat the boy, and he had even admitted to his mistake. However, Enlin was still unwilling to back down and insisted that Lu Mingxuan's child apologize. Isn't he going too far? That's right, it's just a conflict between some children. Does he really need to go this far? Is this how Enlin is supposed to act? The sect leader of the Heavenly Sword sect came to attend the celebration today, but does he really think he's some big shot? Take a step back and you'll see the world. Why doesn't he understand that? He really doesn't understand the bigger picture. Everyone was discussing spiritedly among themselves. Most of them couldn't understand Enlin's actions. He didn't know what to do and didn't know when to back down. Enlin couldn't be bothered to respond to them and merely stood there. An enraged expression appeared on Zhu Shan's face. "Don't push your luck, Enlin. We've already agreed to compensate those two mortals with spirit pills. What else do you want? Do you really think our Heavenly Sword sect is a pushover?" Enlin chuckled. "Oh right, you tried to kill that little girl just then, so you have to apologize as well." Lu Mingxian. Zhu Shan's face turned livid with rage. "Impudent! You! Impudent!" Enlin cut Zhu Shan off with a loud roar. Boom! The Divine Might technique erupted forth again. However, this time, Lu Mingxian merely waved a sleeve, and the power of the Divine Might technique vanished into thin air. Enlin faltered slightly before silently pulling out the regal crown from his storage ring. The regal crown was refined by Shao Tu using the essential blood and spine of a divine dragon. It could unleash boundless dragon might and was a must-have flexing tool. Boom! The Divine Might technique was activated in conjunction with the regal crown. Roar! An earth-shattering dragon's roar erupted. It was as if a divine dragon were soaring through the heavens, and the might of a divine god erupted forth at the same time. Even though it was only targeted at Zhu Shan, Everyone's legs trembled involuntarily, as if they were facing a paramount being. This paramount might was imbued with the power of the divine Tao, and it broke through Lu Mingxuan's aura before invading Zhu Shan's body, upon which her face paled with fright, and her lips trembled uncontrollably. Unlin, is this how you treat a guest of the Heavenly Sword sect? Lu Mingxian was truly enraged this time. His voice was like a divine sword that had been unsheathed from its scabbard, and soared into the heavens. Why don't you just tell your child to apologize? Is it really that difficult? At the end of the day, you're still looking down on mortals, aren't you? You're bullying an elderly woman and a child with no cultivation base at all right in front of me, and you refuse to apologize. My 4-9 immortal sect doesn't welcome guests like you. Unlin's expression didn't even waver in the slightest in the face of Lu Mingxuan's might. His words sent shockwaves rippling through the entire Dao Plaza. Countless people stared at Unlin in astonishment, unable to understand why he would say something like that. He was telling the sect leader of the Heavenly Sword sect that the Heavenly Sword sect wasn't welcome? Was he King insane? Countless people transmitted their voices to Unlin, trying to persuade him to just let this matter rest. There was no need to oppose the Heavenly Sword sect for the sake of two mortals. This wasn't a big deal. Lu Qianhuan asked in a low voice, "Do you know the elderly woman and the little girl?" Unlin shook his head. "I don't." Lu Qianhuan's purple eyes lit up. "Awesome." Unlin looked at Lu Mingxian with an indifferent expression. He was a stubborn man, so there was no need to tell him to look at the bigger picture and look at the bigger picture. In his sect, people had to apologize when they had to. You say Lu Mingxian is bad *SS, so I have to give him some face? Hee, I've even bashed Emperor Ziwei, so why should I give Lu Mingxian some face? Chapter 760. The old woman's breathing gradually calmed down. She looked up and saw a fairy that was so beautiful that it didn't seem to be from the mortal world. She was currently releasing a gentle light to heal her body. After being enshrouded by the white light, not only did her body no longer hurt, but she also felt a lot more energetic. Meanwhile, the little girl stood behind Unlin, and she stared at the white-robed man with her clear, black eyes, unwilling to look away. It was that man named Unlin who had protected her. Not only did he protect her, but he had also gotten into a conflict with a very powerful immortal in order to redeem her dignity. Big Brother Immortal, he really is a good person. Unlin's actions created a massive stir. Most people felt like he had gone too far, and there were also many people who felt like he was overestimating himself. Why was he getting into a conflict with the Heavenly Sword sect over such a trivial matter? Was he an idiot? Lu Mingxian was also perplexed. He could control the life and death of countless living beings with just a wave of his hand, and his actions were already gentle enough. How had things escalated to this point? Just for two mortals he didn't know? And Unlin was saying that he wasn't welcome here? Was this an eviction order? Interesting. A smile suddenly appeared on Lu Mingxuan's face. Huan, I don't know why you insist on staying here, but your sect leader really doesn't know what's good for him. Everyone can just take a step back, and everything will be fine. Instead, you're fighting over a trivial matter. Do you really think my Heavenly Sword sect is a pushover? Boom! Boundless sword intent soared into the heavens, and the aura of a Tao integration stage mighty figure instantly erupted forth. Everyone was struck by an indescribable power in that instant. The boundless sword intent made them unable to muster up any thoughts of resistance. It was as if they were facing the most exalted master of all swords, and the only thing they could do was to submit to him. A god viewed all living beings as ant. Would he apologize for accidentally killing an ant? Choosing to heal the ant was a merciful act, and choosing to ignore it was also a reasonable choice. Once a Tao integration stage battle erupted, countless innocent lives would be affected. Was Lu Mingxian supposed to apologize to all of those living beings? He had only brought out the spirit pill as a show of respect for Enlin. Enlin didn't know what was good for him, so he wasn't going to swallow his anger. Is it that hard to make your child apologize? No wonder that child grew up to be like this. His family's education is really good. Enlin chuckled coldly. He couldn't understand why a mighty Tao integration stage mighty figure would have such a pathetic child. Whoosh! Enlin was suddenly struck by a bone-chilling sensation. Suddenly, the semi-transparent silhouette of a sword appeared before Lu Mingxian, and the swords of all the surrounding cultivators shook violently. A vast and endless sword intent seemingly capable of piercing through the sky shot straight for the essence of the Tao of the sword. When many cultivators saw this, they either felt that it was not worth it, or they sneered with schadenfreude. How could this sect withstand the wrath of a Tao integration stage super mighty figure? Father! Stop! Lu Qianhuan's expression shifted as she positioned herself in front of Enlin. Enlin pulled Lu Qianhuan away with a faint smile on his face. This is my territory, so it's not your place to act all high and mighty. He seemed to have sensed Lu Mingxuan's killing intent. Little Lang transformed into his humanoid wolf form and charged toward Enlin. His claws were like sabers as an earth-shattering saber intent burst forth from his body. He was like a primordial beast from the heavenly wolf tribe, and his claws were sharp enough to slice through all things. This was a return to void stage savage beast. All the cultivators on the Tao Plaza stared at the scenes unfolding before their eyes with shock. If you want to deal with Giant Enlin, you'll have to get past me first. Tina also charged toward Enlin as a boundless holy aura soared into the sky. She held a heart lotus ice sword in her hand, which exuded a chilling aura. Another return to void stage mighty figure? Some cultivators exclaimed. Boom! A humanoid tree descended from the sky as a dangerous light burst forth from its crimson eyes. Roar! A black dragon over 10,000 feet in length at the pinnacle of the return to void intermediate stage suddenly appeared in the sky. Its body obscured the entire sky as boundless dragon might erupted forth, and it glowered at Lu Mingxian with a menacing expression. All of the cultivators on the Tao Plaza were astonished to see 4 extremely powerful return to void stage mighty figures appear at once. Only now did they truly experience just how powerful the 4-9 Immortal sect was. Some of the sect leaders of the first-rate sects were also staring intently at the scenes unfolding before their very eyes in fear of missing out on any details. Lu Mingxuan's expression shifted slightly, but his voice remained calm and collected. This is the power of the 4-9 Immortal sect? Is this what gives you the right to speak? Boom! Another burst of extremely terrifying power swept forth, and this power was imbued with the boundless power of the divine Tao. A tall and slender woman in a white dress slowly made her way toward them. A faint smile appeared on her face. Why didn't you call me along for the fight? What? Beside the woman, a chubby little child with a halo on his head and a pair of green eyes let loose joyful cries as a peerless aura also erupted from his body. The power of the divine Tao of sin and holiness intertwined, striking all of the return to void stage mighty figures present with a sense of extreme trepidation in their hearts. Bai Ling and the demonic baby had also joined Enlin's team. All of the cultivators on the Tao Plaza were astonished this time. Some of them felt like their legs had given out from under them, some had sweat pouring down their foreheads, and some were even contemplating fleeing in case they were killed by the shockwaves of the battle. The power of the divine Tao. That's the power of the divine Tao. Those two are also from the 4-9 Immortal sect. My God, this is way too terrifying. Who would have thought that the 4-9 Immortal sect would have 2 return to void final stage mighty figures who have attained the power of the divine Tao? We've truly underestimated this sect, countless cultivators exclaimed in amazement. Only now did they truly understand just how powerful the 4-9 Immortal sect was. Even if a sect of this caliber couldn't contend with the Heavenly Sword sect, it was still not something that they could casually comment on. Even the members of the 9 Imperials were extremely shocked. The power displayed by the 4-9 Immortal sect was already comparable to the overall power of some of the Imperials. Even though there was only a difference of 1 minor rank between the Return to Void Intermediate stage and the Return to Void Final stage, the gulf between their Tao and power was like an insurmountable chasm. If one were to take a step further, they would be able to attain the power of the divine Tao and unleash power that was close to that of a god. The Imperials were able to rule over an entire state as they had mighty figures who were close to the Tao integration stage among their rank. And now, the 4-9 Immortal sect had suddenly produced 2 such mighty figures. How could everyone not be astonished? Lu Mingxuan's expression shifted once again. He clearly didn't expect the 4-9 Immortal sect to have returned to Void Final stage mighty figures among their rank. Even though this wasn't as powerful as the Heavenly Sword sect, it was still very powerful. Sect Leader Lu, I don't want to fight with you. I just can't stand the sight of you battering an elderly woman to the brink of death and almost killing a little girl, yet you're not even willing to offer a sincere apology. Hence, please leave. Our 4-9 Immortal sect is too small for a mighty figure like you. Anlin extended a slight bow, but his voice was extremely firm. Anlin was asking for an apology from the elderly woman, and he was asking for an apology? Was that too much to ask? However, Lu Mingxian didn't allow his children or wife to apologize. Instead, it was as if they should be grateful that he had given them a pill. The Heavenly Sword sect really was bad *SS? Father, that *TCH dared to provoke you. Beat him to death. Lu Wenbin gritted his teeth and waved his fists as he glared at Anlin. Lu Mingxian looked at Lu Wenbin, but his eyes didn't contain any might or might. However, Lu Wenbin felt a chill run down his spine, and he immediately shut his mouth. Anlin, your 4-9 Immortal sect is indeed quite good. However, are you sure you have the right to make our Heavenly Sword sect leave over something as trivial as this? Lu Mingxian chuckled. If you don't want to leave, then apologize, Anlin said. Lu Mingxian shook his head. Everyone has a temper. Forgive me for being blunt, but no matter how many people you have, I can still take care of them all. I can come and go as I please in this sect of yours. No one can chase me away. Boom. His sword intent erupted, and it was as if it could slice through the entire world. His sword intent proliferated outward, and just his aura alone overwhelmed the auras of all the 4-9 Immortal sect mighty figures. You're insane. Anlin stepped forward as countless worlds flashed before his eyes. 99-fold extreme heavenly spell formation, activate. Chapter 761. As Anlin's foot landed, the world suddenly changed. In an area with a radius of 100 miles, an incomparably huge array formation suddenly began to operate. Everyone raised their heads to look at the sky with a look of horror on their faces. The sky changed. 99 layers of the sky stacked on top of each other, releasing boundless heavenly might. The first layer of the sky was the Zhongdong heavens. There were no stars rotating, and there was qi without form. Black astral winds swept through thousands of kilometers in the blink of an eye, carrying with them the power to destroy all things. If a soul formation cultivator were to come into contact with this wind, they would instantly be shredded to dust. Within Zhongdong Tian, the sky was filled with 9 layers of killing intent. Just these 10 heavenly layers were enough to severely wound a return to void stage mighty figure. The second layer of the sky was the eternal tranquil sky. It stripped away one's senses and returned everything to nothingness. It possessed a boundless sealing power, and any return to void stage mighty figures who fell into this sky would lose all of their senses and experience indescribable sensory torture. Within the calm sky there was the eye-killer sky, which allowed the enemy to see countless terrifying things. The ear-killer sky, which allowed the enemy to hear the most ear-piercing sounds in the world. The nose killer sky, the tongue killer sky, the skin killer sky, the soul killer sky. The third layer was the sky of stars, the fourth layer was the sky of time, the fifth layer was the sky of confusion, the sixth layer was the sky of sun, the seventh layer was the sky of great white, the eighth layer was the sky of stars, and the ninth layer was the sky of moon. There were 9 great heavens and 90 lesser heavens, and each and every one of these heavens possessed the power to slay a return-to-void stage mighty figure. There were a total of 99 layers of heavens in place of the original sky. They rotated back and forth, becoming one, rushing boundlessly. Countless cultivators on the Tao Plaza collapsed to the ground in fear. Even the return-to-void stage mighty figures were trembling uncontrollably as cold sweat began to pour from their foreheads. Their intuition told them that if Enlin wanted to kill them with such a terrifying array formation, they would definitely die. They might be able to escape the first layer of heaven, but could they escape the 99 layers of heaven? Zhu Shan and Lu Wenbin's faces had also turned pale with fright. If it weren't for Lu Mingxuan's aura protecting them, they would have most likely collapsed to the ground already. However, even with the protection of the aura, they were not much better off. The 99 layers of heaven contained great power and terror. Just a single glance was enough to make their minds tremble in fear. The little boy cried out for his father. Lu Mingxian raised his head to look at the terrifying sky that enveloped a radius of 50 kilometers, and his expression changed drastically. He actually felt a heart-palpitating aura from the formation. The power of this array formation could pose a threat to him. The 99 extreme heavenly array formation seized the fortune of heaven and earth, and its power was boundless. When the spell formation was activated to its peak, it could defend against the attacks of Tao Integration Stage Super Mighty Figures and suppress Tao Integration Stage Super Mighty Figures from within. This was the true trump card of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. It was the undisputed sect protection formation of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. I told you, this is my territory, you have no right to act tough here. Enlin's eyes shone with golden might, and his voice was like a decree from the heavens, causing the 99 heavens to rumble. The cultivators on the dojo were trembling, as if they were enduring the fury of the heavens. Lu Mingxuan's translucent heavenly sword trembled slightly, as if it was trembling in excitement. Just like that, the two of them confronted each other, and the atmosphere was extremely tense. Although the representatives of the major sects were watching from the sidelines, they couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. After what seemed like an eternity, Lu Mingxian waved one hand and put away the heavenly sword, completely withdrawing its power. Enlin also withdrew his spell formation upon seeing this. The 99 heavens in the sky began to dissipate, and the clear blue sky reappeared. The sunlight shone down upon the 4-9 Immortal Sect, and all of the cultivators on the dojo were almost moved to tears. My God, peace is so good. Thank God they didn't fight. Otherwise, they would all be dead meat. Lu Mingxian looked at Enlin with a deep gaze before turning to look at the elderly woman and little girl behind Enlin. The trump cards that Enlin had displayed had astonished him. However, what was even more astonishing to him was that Enlin was willing to use all of his trump cards to fight him for the sake of these two mortals. Why? Lu Mingxian was perplexed. This is my territory. You've pissed me off, it's as simple as that, Enlin replied in a very honest manner. Lu Mingxian. This was a super mighty figure who stood proudly on this continent, but his expression was a little peculiar at this moment. He was hesitating. In the end, he sighed softly and glanced at Lu Qianhuan. Then, he strode toward the gate. Let's go. All of the Heavenly Sword sect entourage stared at his departing figure with incredulity in their eyes. What was going on? Was their sect leader really going to leave just like that? Zhu Shan's features were deathly pale, and it was as if she had lost her soul as she silently trailed behind Lu Mingxian. Lu Wenbin yelled, but no sound came out of his mouth. Sect leader Lu, I have a word of advice, Enlin suddenly said. Lu Mingxuan's footsteps faltered. Keep your child in check. He's already so arrogant and lawless at such a young age. If things continue like this, he's going to be slapped in the face by some heaven-defying main character sooner or later, and he might even die along the way. When that time comes, it'll be too late to salvage the situation. Lin spoke. Lu Mingxian, Zhu Shan, all of the onlookers. Lu Wenbin was dumbstruck. Lu Mingxian harumphed coldly and didn't say anything else as he continued toward the exit. Thus, the Heavenly Sword sect leader and his entourage left. No, to put it more accurately, they had been chased away by Lin. I'm sorry, Lin. I've caused you so much trouble. Lu Qianhuan wore a guilty expression as she stared at Lin's profile with her bright purple eyes. It's all right, it's not your fault. Lin turned to Lu Qianhuan with a warm smile on his face. However, your family sure is a bunch of weirdos. Zhu Shan is a drama queen, Wenbin is a brat, and your father is a bit of a chinibu. A smile appeared on Lu Qianhuan's face upon hearing Lin's words. That's why I say, I really don't want to go back to a family like this. It's so tiring. When everyone turned to look at Lin again, there was no longer any disdain or confusion in their eyes. Instead, there was only a deep sense of awe and veneration. For a man to challenge a massive beast in order to save 2 little white rabbits, people would call him a stupid C*NT for overestimating himself. However, when that man killed or chased away the massive beast in order to save 2 little white rabbits, people would only yell at him for being a bad *SS. They would yell at how terrifying he was. As for why you said it was because of 2 little white rabbits, who would care about that? For example, many of the female cultivators were just cursing at Lin for being a stupid C*NT, but now their expressions were filled with admiration and veneration. Some of them even felt that Lin was so manly, so kind, and so mighty for daring to challenge a Dao integration stage super mighty figure in order to save 2 mortals. At this moment, no sect dared to look down on the 4-9 immortal sect. This was a sect that dared to challenge the Heavenly Sword sect and chase away Lu Mingxian. Who dared to look down on them? This included the 9 Imperials, as well as the representatives of the 3 great sects aside from the Heavenly Sword sect. Some of them were already secretly communicating with one another through voice transmission, discussing whether they should add more gifts or not. This is a super coattail. We have to seize this opportunity. But won't we incur the wrath of the Heavenly Sword sect by sucking up to the 4-9 immortal sect like this? After all, the 2 sects are already on bad terms. That's true. If the Heavenly Sword sect decides to come after us, we'll be implicated. Don't worry. Aside from the Heavenly Sword sect, the other 3 great sects are on such good terms with the 4-9 immortal sect. What can the Heavenly Sword sect do? Just as everyone was discussing spiritedly among themselves, another announcement sounded. Celestial Maiden Tian Yu of the Celestial Court and her delegation have arrived. Chapter 762. A woman in a plain Taoist robe with a transcendent aura slowly made her way toward Lin. Her appearance attracted the attention of all of the cultivators on the Dao Plaza. It couldn't be helped. The power behind her was simply too awe-inspiring. The Celestial Court ruled over the human race of the Kingdom of the 9 States and was even more powerful than the 4 great sections. Even in the entire Tai Chu continent, where there were countless tribes, it was still one of the most powerful forces. This was Celestial Maiden Tianyu, and even though none of the cultivators had seen her before, they had all heard of her. She was the 7th daughter of the Celestial Tharch, and she was also his most beloved daughter. Her arrival was a clear indication of the attitude of the Celestial Court. Even the Celestial Court has come to congratulate them. This 4-9 immortal sect sure is something. With the support of the Celestial Court, the Heavenly Sword sect is nothing. Hurry! Tell them to bring more gifts. Tell them that the gifts from before haven't all arrived yet. All of the cultivators present thought quickly, and the status of the 4-9 immortal sect in their hearts was elevated once again. Even if all of the sects didn't want to curry favor with the 4-9 immortal sect, they weren't going to provoke it. And Lin, that was a great show just then. As expected of the little war god of the celestial court. A graceful smile appeared on Lin Junjun's face, as if she were a woman who had just walked out from a Jiangnan painting. She didn't forget to mention the little war god as she spoke, and she really was a smooth talker for the celestial court. Were you nearby just then? Lin asked. That's right, I was nearby, but I didn't want to disturb you when you were flexing, Lin Junjun replied in a truthful manner. Lin, she really didn't have to be so blunt. The 4-9 Immortal Sex Foundation really did surprise me. After that, I saw you bring out our Celestial Court's prized treasure, the Formation Disc, and it was so powerful that even the number 1 Sword Immortal was scared away. Lin Junjun's eyes lit up as she offered words of praise. And Lin's face darkened. They were praising the Celestial Court again. Was there an end to it? At this moment, Dabai ran over to save the day. Big Brotherin, you were so cool just then. In the face of a super mighty figure of the Tao integration stage, the number 1 Sword Immortal on the continent, he was still as calm and collected as ever. Furthermore, he retaliated in a powerful manner, forcing his opponent to retreat with his tail between his legs. Such a peerless prodigy, no wonder he's our sect leader. Woof. It's just SOSO. It's just the basics. Don't make a fuss about it. And Lin smiled modestly. This rhythm is right, this is the correct rhythm for praising. Lin Junjun rolled her eyes adorably. At this moment, the little girl behind Lin stared blankly at the scene in front of her. The elderly woman's expression also shifted slightly. She rubbed her murky eyes before turning to look at Lin and Dabai again, and her mouth gaped open slightly. When they first saw Lin, they didn't think of him in a certain direction due to his graceful and domineering demeanor. However, when Dabai appeared in their field of vision, a white-robed man and a huge white dog, the fragments of their memories finally became clear. That's right, that figure had disappeared into the light of the setting sun, and it had been branded into her mind. The little girl stared at Lin with her clear, black eyes, and her petite lips parted slightly. She wanted to call out to Lin, but she was a little conflicted and hesitant. In the end, she mustered up her courage and spoke in a soft, trembling voice. A dog-riding hero? The little girl's voice was a little soft, but everyone present was a cultivator, so there was no way that they couldn't hear her. Dabai was particularly sensitive to the term dog-riding, while Lin was particularly sensitive to the term hero. Thus, the two of them turned to look at the little girl at the same time. Little girl, are you calling me? Lin asked with a smile. Big Brotherin, this little girl looks a little familiar, woof. Dabai's big, round eyes lit up. You beast. You won't even let a little girl off the hook. Lin was filled with righteous indignation toward Dabai's overzealous behavior. The little girl stared at Lin with an excited expression on her face. Dog-riding hero, it's me. Back then, my grandma and I tricked you into giving you 200 spirit stones, but you gave me 500 spirit stones. As the little girl spoke, she suddenly couldn't say anything else. Tears the size of beans kept falling down. That's right, meeting an old friend was something to be happy about. However, what if the little girl had tried to scam him out of his money? Was that really something to be happy about? Only by recounting this incident would Lin recall their past. A sense of guilt welled up in the little girl's heart. The little girl kept wiping away her tears as she stuttered, Wah! I dog-riding hero, you're so good to me, but I treated you like this, I'm so bad, wah. At this moment, the little girl suddenly received a warm hug. Lin picked the little girl up and chuckled. Oh, so you're that little girl from the Wind Plain State. You're getting prettier and prettier. Those 500 spirit stones were for your grandma's treatment. I'm relieved to see that your grandma is so healthy. But the little girl still wanted to say something. However, Lin placed his index finger on the little girl's mouth. I'm so powerful, how could I not know about your situation? That money was for your grandma's treatment, understand? The little girl's eyes turned red as tears rolled down her face. Big brother, you're so nice. All of the onlookers marveled at the miraculous nature of fate upon seeing this. Su Xiaolan, who was standing among the Vermilion Bird sect representatives, clicked her tongue in wonder. I didn't know that Lin could flirt with a little girl like this. 500 spirit stones for a little girl's heart, this is definitely not a bad deal. Lan Yin laughed heartily. Hey, Xiaolan, you're not jealous of a little girl, are you? Su Xiaolan glared at Lan Yin. What nonsense are you spouting? At this moment, Mo Hai added fuel to the fire. Xiaolan, you have to feel the danger. You and Lin made that 100-year promise. By then, this little girl will have grown up, right? Lan Yin chimed in. That little girl was already so lively when she was young. How bad will she be when she grows up? And Lin gave her spirit stones when she was in danger, and now, he's even mobilized the entire sect against the Heavenly Sword sect for her. TSK, TSK, TSK. This little girl will probably never forget this. Perhaps she'll be dead set on Lin for the rest of her life. Are you sure you're not worried? Su Xiaolan's lips twitched. Now that you mention it, I'm starting to feel a sense of urgency. Everyone burst into laughter. Su Xiaolan, however, was a little disconsolate. Was the 100-year promise a little too unreasonable? Should she shorten the time limit? Then, she shook her head and stared at the man in the distance with a confident smile on her face. She mumbled to herself, seriously, why am I thinking so much? Do you think I don't trust Lin? It's normal for outstanding men to be liked by others, but the one he likes is me. Lin was still holding the little girl in his arms with a smile. By the way, why did you suddenly decide to come here? He was almost certain that the little girl had only recognized him after coming here. It was far too strange for two mortals to suddenly come here. It's an old Taoist priest with a nose like a cow. He told me that there's an immortal opportunity here. The little girl replied. A Taoist priest with a nose like a cow? Lin couldn't imagine what that would look like. Is there any other information? For example, what's his name and what sect he's from? The little girl shook her head with a confused expression. I don't know. I only know that he can fly and is very powerful. He said that after his divination, there would be a great immortal opportunity for me here, so I came. Lin immediately felt that the ox-nosed Taoist priest was too awesome. No one else should know about what happened back then. The old Taoist priest calculated with his fingers, and he was able to extend this fate? However, Lin wasn't someone who would fuss too much. He quite liked this little girl, and that was enough for him. He asked gently, Little girl, what's your name? I'm Yi Ling. The little girl said excitedly as if she finally had a chance to introduce herself. Then, she pointed at the old woman beside her. Grandma is Shan Rushuan. Hello, I'm Lin, Lin said with a smile. Big brother Lin. The little girl smiled sweetly and looked exceptionally adorable. Chapter 763. Lin arranged for Yi Ling and Shan Rushuan to be seated in the VIP section. The conflict between the Heavenly Sword sect and the 4-9 Immortal sect was still a hot topic among all of the sections. However, it was extremely beneficial to the 4-9 Immortal sect's reputation. At the very least, the vast majority of the sect representatives already viewed the 4-9 Immortal sect as equal to the 9 Imperials. Many of the sect leaders conversed with Lin in an extremely respectful manner. Lin was a little unaccustomed to this. There was even a return to void stage Taoist priest who referred to him as Senior Lin. Lin was dumbstruck upon hearing this. What the F***CK? Your cultivation base is higher than mine, and you're older than me, so why are you referring to me as senior? Lin immediately turned down this form of address, but the Taoist priest insisted, saying that anyone who dared to oppose the number one sword immortal on the continent had to be a role model for their generation. And Lin couldn't say anything more. All he wanted was for the Taoist priest to be happy. The 4-9 Immortal Sect's inauguration ceremony was about to commence, and all of the major sects of the Kingdom of the Nine States had already arrived. The representatives of the Heavenly Court, the 3 super sects, the 9 imperial families, the 55 first-rate sects, and over 500 large sects were gathered on the vast Taoist plaza paved with dark green jade stones. In total, there were over 10,000 powerful cultivators with lofty statuses. And Lin made his way onto the Tao platform and looked at the tens of thousands of sect representatives from all over the Kingdom of the Nine States, and a sense of pride welled up in his heart. Look, these are all cultivators who have come to congratulate my new sect. And Lin stood on the Tao platform with his white robe fluttering in the wind. His eyes were bright, and his black hair danced in the wind, giving him a transcendent aura. Everyone was looking at him. Many of the female cultivators stared at the man on the platform with infatuation in their eyes. Even the male cultivators were amazed and envious, feeling that this was how a real man should be. At this moment, Lin was the most dazzling. Not only because of his status, but also because of his strength and courage. And Lin cleared his throat and began his sect inauguration speech. First of all, he wanted to thank the various sects for taking the time out of their busy schedules to come here to congratulate him. After all, they were here to give him money. Of course, he had to thank them properly. After that, it was time to explain the 4-9 Immortal Sect's founding philosophy. And Lin used to hate listening to leaders speak. That was because leaders were boring and full of nonsense. However, it was time for him to tell it himself. He suddenly realized that the feeling of speaking in front of tens of thousands of people was really great. Can you imagine? The feeling of tens of thousands of powerful cultivators staring at you and listening to you speak. Even if what you said was nonsense, it was still very pleasurable. After he finished his speech, the audience applauded warmly. And Lin listened to the applause and narrowed his eyes in happiness. It was not that he was boasting, but if he was given a chance, he could talk nonsense for several days straight. He finally understood why leaders in the past were able to talk so enthusiastically on stage. The feeling of being listened to by tens of thousands of people was really exhilarating. And Lin paused momentarily before continuing. Next, I will talk about the core values of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Prosperity, democracy, civility, harmony, freedom, equality, justice, the rule of law, love for the sect, dedication, integrity, and friendliness. All of the core members of the 4-9 Immortal Sect wore smiles on their faces. The tens of thousands of sect representatives were all dumbstruck. This is the world of cultivators. Could it be that something strange had snuck in? And Lin continued, next we will talk about prosperity. Wealth and resources are the foundation of a sect, so our sect will do everything in its power to develop and grow. We will strive to have more spirit stones, more magic treasures, more powerful cultivation methods, and more powerful disciples than others. The 4-9 Immortal Sect's goal is to become the most powerful sect in the world. Clatter clatter Lu Qianhuan, Su Xiaolan, Xianyuan Qing, Su Qianyun, and all of the core members of the sect applauded with all their might. The tens of thousands of sect representatives were all dumbstruck, and all of them clapped along with Lin. So this was what prosperity meant? The second is democracy. The 4-9 Immortal Sect is not a sect where the sect leader makes all the decisions. Instead, we use a system where all of the pavilion lords and elders vote together on important matters. The third is civility. We don't bully mortals, we don't bully the weak, we uphold justice, and we live a civilized society. The fourth is harmony. We don't provoke others, but if anyone dares to provoke us, the 4-9 Immortal Sect will beat them to death. The fifth is freedom. The 4-9 Immortal Sect has the freedom to do whatever we want. As long as it's not an atrocity, I hope all of you sects won't meddle in our business. Otherwise, the 4-9 Immortal sect will beat you up as well. The sixth is equality. Several dozen well-known reporters from the Kingdom of the Nine States recorded Lin's speech, and they became more and more excited as they wrote. These core values were amazing. His domineering and advanced ideals would definitely stir up waves across the entire continent. After that, Lin elaborated on the core values of fairness, rule of law, love for the sect, dedication, honesty, and friendliness. He elaborated on all of the core values, including the values of the outside world, the values of the sect, and the values of the sect's members. His speech was extremely detailed, and everyone was astonished by his words, but at the same time, they were also able to sense how special this new sect was. After Lin's speech, a burst of raucous applause erupted from below the stage. Bai Ling, Tang Shimin, and the other core members of the sect all wore gratified smiles on their faces. Many of the sect representatives were also completely convinced, and their opinion of the 4-9 Immortal sect was completely renewed. Some of the female cultivators looked up at the white-robed man on the stage with reverence and admiration in their eyes. In their hearts, Lin was the domineering sect leader. They had already imagined a series of stories about the domineering sect leader falling in love with them. A faint smile appeared on Lin Junjun's face. Isn't the core values of the 4-9 Immortal sect a little too domineering? Putting aside his strength for now, his philosophy was already as if he was the only one in the world. Only someone as shameless as Lin would dare to announce these core values in front of all of the sects in the Kingdom of the Nine States. Lin is a perfect match for the sect leader of the 4-9 Immortal sect. Another celestial court follower nodded in agreement. All of the other sects were also discussing this new sect in hushed voices. If any other small sect were to announce these core values, they would definitely be ridiculed for being stupid C***NTS. However, the 4-9 Immortal sect was too powerful, so all of the discussions were either filled with mockery or anticipation. Some of the smaller sects were even discussing the possibility of the 4-9 Immortal sect becoming the number one sect in the world, which was naturally mocked by the other sect representatives. They hadn't even set foot on the ground yet, and they were already dreaming of ascending to the heavens and standing shoulder to shoulder with the sun? I hereby announce the establishment of the 4-9 Immortal sect. In that instant, applause erupted throughout the entire heavens. Boom! A rainbow light began to illuminate the entire sky. It was as if it had been triggered by some kind of power. Bursts of auspicious energy rose up from the ground, and celestial music reverberated in the air as dragons and phoenixes danced in the air. Golden flaming feathers fell from the sky like flower petals, creating a spectacular sight. Blue lightning bloomed in the sky, rumbling like the roar of firecrackers. All of the cultivators raised their heads to look up at the miraculous scenes unfolding in front of them. The atmosphere of an immortal sect had reached its pinnacle at this moment. The 4-9 Immortal sect was officially established under the witness of several hundred sects. Chapter 764. Su Xiaolan tucked a few strands of hair behind her ear as she looked up at the dazzling phenomena in the sky, and a smile appeared on her face. This was the sect that she and Lin had founded together. She was sure that they would continue to live happily in this sect for a long time to come. Next up was the military parade. Tui. It should be said that it was time to introduce the leaders of the sect. All of the core members of the 4-9 Immortal sect took the stage. There were 10 pavilions in the sect, namely Su Xiaolan's Flame Pavilion, Lu Qianhuan's Sword Pavilion, Xianyuan Cheng's Spirit Pavilion, Su Qianyun's Moon Pavilion, Xiao Zhe's Dragon Pavilion, Debai's Beast Pavilion, Little Lang's Man Pavilion, Tina's Realm Pavilion, Bryce's Blood Pavilion, and Bai Ling's Purple Star Pavilion. All of the sect representatives were given a massive fright by the types of inheritances each sect had to offer. The inheritances of the 4 great sects, the Blood Tribe, the Celestial Court, and the Moon Pavilion were all renowned inheritances that were enough to shock them. However, the inheritances of the Primordial Dragon Tribe, the inheritances of the Fairy Tribe, the inheritances of the Man Tribe, and the inheritances of the Purple Star Civilization were extremely powerful. It could be said that any one of the 10 pavilions could easily create a first-rate sect in the Kingdom of the 9 States. After the pavilion lords took the stage, the sect elders of the same rank as the pavilion lords also took the stage. Tang Shimin, Xiao Hong, Xiao Chou, Little Tian, and Lin Junjun also took the stage. Everyone was dumbstruck once again. Gasp! What's going on? The daughter of the Celestial Larch is an elder of the 4-9 Immortal Sect? It looks like we underestimated the relationship between the Celestial Court and the 4-9 Immortal Sect. We're really in the clear now. Who would dare to mess with the 4-9 Immortal Sect? Countless cultivators began to discuss spiritedly among themselves as they looked at the 4-9 Immortal Sect members with awe and veneration in their eyes. A graceful woman in a plain Taoist robe stood on the stage with a warm smile on her face. She was like a tranquil and graceful celestial maiden from a painting, and many cultivators were entranced by her beauty. Hey, have you noticed? There are so many exquisite beauties in the 4-9 Immortal Sect. That's true. Women of this level are as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns in the entire Kingdom of the 9 States, but there are a few of them here. Anlin is truly enviable. There are also a lot of handsome guys. Aside from the average-looking Tang Shimin, all the other men are pretty good-looking, especially Xian Yuan Cheng. He's so handsome. After that, it was time to introduce the little elder of the sect. Yao Mingxi, Yao Xiu, Xianzhu, Zhao Huayin, Hu Guan, Lu Debao, Miao Tian, Luo Ziping, Sun Xinglian, and Zhong Yongyan served as the minor elders. After that, it was time for the official disciple introduction. There was only one disciple, Yi Ling. The little girl stood nervously on the Dao platform until her white and tender little hand was held by Anlin's big and warm hands. Only then did the tension disappear a lot. She could feel the waves of applause from the audience, and she couldn't help but smile radiantly as she looked at Anlin, who was clearly elated and proud of himself. She was the first disciple of the 4-9 Immortal Sect, so she was very special. Not only was she a child, but she was also a mortal with no cultivation base at all. Due to some mysterious and miraculous fate, she was connected to the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Just like that, the sect was complete. Not only did it have a leader, but it also had a disciple. The speech at the founding ceremony concluded. After that, it was time for a banquet and a series of small talk. This was quite a boring process. After walking around for a while, Anlin started chatting with a few of his old acquaintances. He followed Xiaolan to the Vermilion Bird Sect's representative group to meet with Mo Hai, Yang Yuan, Lan Yen, and the others. Anlin told them about Shangguan Yi's recent situation, including his encounter with her in the ancient Tai Chu realm, the Snow Maiden's protection, and the change in her bloodline. Everyone sighed with emotion upon hearing this. Fate was always so unpredictable. Sigh, Sister Shangguan Yi is so unlucky. Why does she have to bear all of the hardships and pain by herself? Lan Yen bit down on her lower lip. She recalled all of their interactions in the past, and a wistful expression appeared on her face. Don't be afraid, everything will turn for the better. I heard that an extremely terrifying environmental disaster occurred in the holy glacial lands, and the Snow Maidens are planning to move their holy domain elsewhere, Yang Yuan said. He was already an elder of the Vermilion Bird Sect, so he was quite well informed. Anlin's interest was immediately piqued. Where are they planning to move their holy domain to? Yang Yuan shook his head. I'm not sure. Their original plan was to find a fragment of the realm core in the ancient Tai Chu realm, then establish a small world as their territory. Unfortunately, not only were they unable to find the fragment of the realm core, but even the realm essence crystals were pitifully scarce, so they had no choice but to look elsewhere. Unlin rubbed the tip of his nose. The incident with the realm essence crystals was probably his fault. After all, he had robbed the storage rings of a few soul formation stage snow maidens and a few return to void stage snow maidens. The snow maidens must be missing him. After chatting with everyone from the Vermilion Bird sect for a while, he made his way toward the mythological beast sect. He then saw a few Dabai frolicking around before silently walking away. That was a paradise for dogs. It wasn't appropriate for him to go there as he would be licked all over. Unlin turned toward the Greenwood Imperial family and met the great scientist of the Greenwood Imperial family, Professor Yang. Professor Yang was the one who had helped create the energy cores for Gundam 1 and Gundam 2, and he was a great help to Unlin. Professor Yang rubbed his hands together as he looked toward Bai Ling's direction, as if he were looking at some kind of treasure. Unlin almost thought that Professor Yang had taken a liking to Bai Ling. After asking around, he found out that Professor Yang wanted to have a scientific exchange with Bai Ling. Unlin couldn't decide on this, so he had to ask Bai Ling first. After that, Unlin went to the 10,000 Spirits Immortal sect to see Quang Ri and Tang Xiuan. Quang Ri was still the same, and he wore an odd expression on his face. Tang Xiuan, on the other hand, had become a lot livelier, and she no longer spoke in a weird manner. Unlin, who would have thought that you'd change so much in the blink of an eye? I felt like I was in a dream when I watched you give a speech on stage. Tang Xiuan wore a carefree smile on her face, as if she were a friend, and she was speaking enviously. Unlin smiled modestly. I've had a lot of opportunities recently, and I'm starting to regret creating this sect. I just wanted to have some fun, but I didn't expect to shock the entire kingdom of the 9 states so quickly. I suddenly feel like there's a heavy burden on my shoulders. It's so stressful. Tang Xiuan, you really haven't changed. Unlin laughed heartily. It's very important to stay true to yourself. I've always been this simple and honest. Tang Xiuan nodded with a smile. No, you've always been this good at flexing. The two chatted for a while longer before Unlin took his leave. Tang Xiuan looked at Unlin's departing figure and silently put away the jade pendant in her hand. She recalled the conversation they had in the bamboo forest. No one knew where love began, and no one knew where it ended. Some fates could be continued, but some fates could only change with the passage of time, carving out a huge ravine in the ground that was difficult to cross. Tang Xiuan wore a carefree smile as she looked at Unlin's departing figure and said goodbye in her heart. Chapter 765. The 4-9 Immortal Sect's celebration lasted for an entire day. Regardless of whether it was day or night, there were always singers and dancers performing on stage. Over 10,000 sect cultivators chatted with one another on the sidelines. At night, all types of spell techniques and fireworks blossomed, lighting up the night sky with a vibrant glow. After a night of revelry, all of the sect representatives bade farewell the next day. Unlin gathered all of the 4-9 Immortal sect members in the main palace to discuss future developments. The sect leader, 10 pavilion lords, and 5 elders gathered around a large round table. 10 young elders and 1 disciple sat on a small stool and listened obediently. Shan Rushuan went to cook. Unlin called out the sect's mascot, Fortune Beckoning Wang, the Beast Pavilion Lord, Dabai, and announced the gifts they had received during this ceremony. Dabai clapped his paws together and placed the 10 high-rank storage rings onto the round table. He cleared his throat and spoke with a mature expression. Elder Tang and I counted for an entire day, and only then did we come up with the detailed statistics. Everyone turned to look at Dabai. Dabai spoke with a serious expression. This is the number of immortal tool parts we received from all of the sects. No one had any reaction to this. Many returned to Void stage mighty figures didn't even have immortal tools to play with. If any sect really gave immortal tools to other sects during their celebration, then they really had to be retarded. We received 8 immortal pills and 18 immortal fruit. Woof. Dabai continued. Everyone was ecstatic to hear this. They finally had a way to cultivate. Immortal pills and immortal fruits were top-rate cultivation resources for sex, and it was a pleasant surprise to receive so many. After Dubai's explanation, they learned that most of the immortal rank items had been contributed by the Celestial Court, the 4 great sects, and the 9 Imperials. The Heavenly Sword sect had also given an immortal pill as a congratulatory gift. Unlin was very touched. Dubai continued, we also received 70 spirit tools, 163 spirit pills, 220 spirit fruits, 450 magic tools, over 1,200 kilograms of various spirit herbs, over 100 types of tool refinement materials, over 2,500 kilograms, and 35 special tools. Woof! Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Just these items alone were worth more than 10 million spirit stones. Dubai patted the table with his paw, indicating that there was no need to make a fuss. Do you know how many spirit stones we've collected? Woof! Unlin asked hesitantly. Over 10 million? The corners of Dubai's lips curled upwards, revealing 2 canine teeth. He raised his 3 paws and chuckled. It's 32. 5 million spirit stones. Woof! Unlin was shocked. F***ck. Lu Qianhuan took a deep breath. That many? Lu Debao was so scared that he almost fell off his chair. His round eyes widened. Could it be a mistake? Tang Shimin interjected at this moment. It's absolutely true. Dubai and I did our calculations 3 whole times. Hiss! Everyone truly sucked in a breath of cold air this time. They looked at one another, but they didn't know what to say. In the cultivation world, gifting was very straightforward. Everyone liked to give spirit stones. This was because spirit stones were the most widely used source of energy. Cultivation, tool refinement, pill refinement, and spell formations all required spirit stones. It could be said that spirit stones were a hard currency that would never depreciate in value. There were several hundred sects, so Unlin felt like giving a few tens of thousands of spirit stones to each sect would be enough. Never would he have thought that they would exceed the 30 million spirit stones threshold. Didn't this mean that many sects had given over 100,000 spirit stones at once? So our sect suddenly became so rich? Su Xiaolan murmured to herself. In just one day we've accumulated so much wealth. That's amazing! Little stars flashed in Su Qianyun's eyes, as if she could see a bright future ahead of her. Classmate Lin is right. If we make this sex celebration as big as possible, then collect congratulatory gifts, we'll really be able to earn a lot of money. To be honest, there's so much money that I'm feeling a little dizzy, Xianyuan Qing exclaimed with amazement on his face. What kind of experience was it to receive congratulatory gifts worth 40 to 50 million spirit stones for just one sect celebration? All of the higher-ups of the 4-9 Immortal sect felt so good. This was the feeling of becoming rich overnight. As the sect leader, Unlin couldn't help but say, I have a bold idea. Dubai interjected, in response to your bold idea, I have an immature suggestion. Lu Qianhuan clapped her hands together. Cut the crap. Tell me, how many more sex celebrations are we going to hold? Once a day. Let's make it a never-ending celebration. Shui Zhantian spoke in a domineering manner. Unlin pressed a hand down on Shui Zhantian's soft, fair body. Don't King act cute. If we do it once a day, who's going to listen to us? You're going to get tired. So there has to be a time interval. Xianyuan Qing crossed his arms with a thoughtful expression on his handsome face. There has to be a reason for the celebration. Otherwise, the other sects won't come. Secondly, the celebration has to be cyclical in order to make money over time. Su Xiaolan snapped her fingers with a smile. How about we hold a celebration for the 4-9 Immortal sect's anniversary? The first anniversary celebration, the second anniversary celebration, the third anniversary celebration, the endless cycle lasting forever, the money rolling in. Everyone's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. Unlin was very elated, as if he had found a way to make money for the sect. He paused for a moment before continuing. Do you have any other suggestions? As an elder, Lin Junjun clasped a hand over her chest and stared at everyone with incredulity on her face. This sect development discussion is the most bizarre one I've ever seen. A bunch of higher-ups are discussing how to make money from celebrations. All of the higher-ups turned to Lin Junjun with confusion on their faces. It was as if they were saying, "Is there a problem?" Lin Junjun was struck by a sense of discomfort upon seeing this. Was what she had said wrong? Why did she seem to be so out of place here? And Lin spoke in a meaningful and heartfelt voice. Comrade Lin Junjun, I think you should understand something. Regardless of whether it's a black cat or a white cat, it's a good cat as long as it can catch mice. If the sect can make money this way, then why not do it? But this kind of development isn't healthy and sustainable. A sect should have a way to make money. Lin Junjun argued. I'm not saying we should give up on other ways to make money. We're just discussing how to make money from celebrations first. Even if the second celebration doesn't make as much money as the first one, maybe only 10 million or a few million spirit stones, it's still better than nothing, right? Think about it, why wouldn't you want to make a few million spirit stones from one celebration? And Lin was still explaining with a serious expression, and Lin Junjun found it difficult to refute his words. Thus, all of the higher-ups of the 4-9 Immortal sect began to discuss the celebratory event again. Lin Junjun looked at the group of higher-ups who were indulging in their own free time. Lin Junjun fell into deep thought. Shouldn't the Celestial Court also hold a celebration to make money? For example, hold a celebration for her birthday? Then, he would also do it for First Sister and Sixth Sister's birthdays? Or hold a heavenly peach banquet? Chapter 766. Thus, the celebration of the sect came to an end. And Lin and the others finally began to discuss other aspects of the sect's development. The main focus of the sect is resources, cultivation methods, mystic realms, and talents. And Lin looked around at everyone and said, half of us still have to attend classes in the Celestial Court. What are your thoughts on how we should develop the sect in the next 2 to 3 years? There's no need to hurry with regards to cultivation methods. We have many different types of cultivation methods, and all of them are the purest and most profound cultivation methods, which are more than enough to dominate the entire kingdom of the 9 states, Su Xiaolan replied. Except for the Celestial Court, Lin Junjun added. Su Xiaolan shot a glance at Lin Junjun. A faint smile appeared on Lin Junjun's face as she raised her chin, revealing her long, slender neck like a proud swan. And Lin rolled his eyes. He felt like there was a traitor in the sect. Mystic realms can only be found by chance, so there's no need to hurry, Xian Yuan Qing chimed in. Then we can only start with resources and talents. Anything that can enhance one's cultivation base can be referred to as resources. Spirit stones, pills, all types of tools, as well as some food that can enhance one's cultivation base, as well as some strange materials, we can start collecting them all, Bai Ling chimed in. We might not have enough manpower, right? Especially with regards to spirit stone mines, we'll need a lot of manpower to search for and fight for them. I just want to slack off, and Lin turned to everyone. That's all right, we don't have to be in a hurry to develop our sect, so we can take our time in terms of resources. Don't forget the reason we established this sect in the first place. This is just a place for us friends to socialize and have fun. We can just do whatever we want with the sect. There's no need to take things too seriously, and don't tire yourselves out. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this, and a hint of a smile appeared on their faces. As the sect leader, Lin suddenly encouraged everyone to slack off, but they didn't feel any disgust toward him. Instead, they felt like this was exactly what they had envisioned a sect to be like. Even Lin Junjun looked at Lin with a peculiar light in her eyes after a brief moment of shock. Lu Qianhuan's purple eyes lit up. Could it be? And Lin wants to create a Buddha-like sect? What Buddhist sect? And Lin was a little confused. That's right. We eat, drink, and play every day. When the time comes, the sect will develop on its own. Lu Qianhuan giggled excitedly. And Lin, everyone, and Lin's expression darkened. Lu Qianhuan, do you have some kind of misunderstanding about Buddhism? But a sect where we eat, drink, and play all day sounds really fun. A faint smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face, and she was a little expectant. I also think it's a great idea. Tang Shimin felt as if he had found a soulmate. But there's almost no way this plan is feasible. Who can say how a sect like this should be run? Do we eat, drink, and play for free? Xian Yuanqing felt like it was a bit unrealistic. Just hold a few more celebrations. Lu Qianhuan replied without any hesitation. Su Qianyan spoke in her mellow voice, you're right. This will make money quickly. Su Xiaolan nodded. I agree. And Lin also smiled. You're right. Thus, everyone returned to their discussion about celebrations. Lin Junjun stared at the higher-ups before her with astonishment on her face. They had just begun to discuss the development of the sect, but it had only been a few F*King minutes, and the atmosphere had already become so twisted. In the end, it was all thanks to Bai Ling's reminder that the most important thing for everyone was to focus on was cultivation. They couldn't slack off in their cultivation, so the existence of the sect couldn't be limited to just eating, drinking, and playing. They also had to develop the sect in order to receive real resources in return. As soon as these words were spoken, they forcefully reversed the distorted scene. Lin Junjun turned to Bai Ling with a grateful expression. Thank God there was still a reliable big sister in the sect. Otherwise, she really didn't know where else to go. And Lin clapped his hands. The prerequisite for obtaining resources is to have enough talented people. This includes exceptional cultivation teachers and exceptional disciples. Now let me confirm the teachers. Who wants to stay at the 4-9 Immortal Sect after the holiday? Lu Qianhuan, Xianju, Bai Ling, Xiao Chou, the white-scaled wolf god, and Xiao Zhe all raised their hands. And Lin turned to the white-scaled wolf god with a hint of surprise on his face. Little Lang, you don't need to teach little Tian how to break through to the return to void stage? I've already taught him everything that needs to be taught. Now, it's up to him to attain enlightenment. Master, I'm going to expand your territory for you, the white-scaled wolf god said. Shui Zhantian flapped his intricate little wings with a confident expression. Don't worry, Master. I, Shui Zhantian, am extremely talented and have attained many enlightenment recently. I'm only one step away from the return to void stage, so I definitely won't disappoint you. Lin nodded. How about this? Lu Qianhuan's Sword Pavilion, Bai Ling's Purple Star Pavilion, White-Scaled Wolf God's Man Pavilion, and Little Zhao's Dragon Pavilion can all start recruiting. You can decide how many you want to recruit. I suggest that you go through the elite training for the core disciples, and I suggest that you recruit as many outer pavilion disciples as possible. The threshold for becoming an outer pavilion disciple was very low, and they were the type of people who had to run around in search of resources. The inner pavilion disciples were the foundation of a sect, and their aptitude and temperament all had to undergo strict examinations. There might even be a series of checkpoints set up to test them. Bai Ling volunteered to be the designer of the checkpoints. Level design and whatnot, she loved it the most. Lin, Dabai, Miao Tian, and the others all shuddered as they recalled the horror of being subjected to the various checkpoints set up in the Purple Star ruins. A strong sense of sympathy welled up in their hearts toward the future inner pavilion disciples. Lin's delegation of authority to recruit disciples was finally confirmed. Finally, they returned to the discussion of resources. Lin suddenly thought of the 30 million spirit stones. How do we think the sect should spend these 30 million spirit stones? How about a normal session? Lu Qianhuan and Su Qianyun spoke in unison. The two celestial maidens looked at each other and smiled, as if they were on the same wavelength. Perhaps this was the goal of most girls, wanting to live in a more beautiful place. And Lin also wanted to have a normal session of 30 million spirit stones. Think about it, the Grandmaster Construction Cultivator, who had mocked him for being poor, had only left for a few days before she was summoned back. Then, he threw a huge sum of 30 million spirit stones at the Grandmaster Construction Cultivator's face. Go my A**s. Hurry up and give me a normal session. Tisk tsk. This was a really satisfying scene. However, Lin wasn't a dictatorial person. He still had to listen to the opinions of others. This was a very controversial matter, so a vote was needed. Then, he discovered that Xianyuan Qing, Tang Shimen, Xiao Zhe, Xiao Chou, and the others all felt that they should spend the money on expanding the sect's influence. They could postpone the matter of renovating the sect. The sect had just been established, so they needed money. This amount of money was very important. If there was a dispute, then it was very simple. Vote. In the end, over 60% of the people supported using the spirit stones for the sect's basic operations. Their hopes for a normal session were dashed. This conference regarding the sect lasted for a very long time, but it wasn't boring at all. Instead, it was very fun. Everyone was friends and classmates, so they were able to have all kinds of discussions. The idle fish sect leader, Lin, didn't care and allowed them to express their opinions. Thus, everyone was very enthusiastic to participate in the discussion. It was as if they were building a new home together, and everyone was a part of this new home. In the end, everyone decided on a few important matters. The sect's finances were managed by Dabai and Xiao Zhe. Dabai was going to continue to follow Lin, so Xiao Zhe was going to manage the sect's finances for the time being. The dragon tribe was extremely talented when it came to treasures and finances, so Lin was very reassured. The Sword Pavilion, Purple Star Pavilion, Man Pavilion, and Dragon Pavilion officially began to recruit disciples. The Purple Star Phoenix Research Institute was designated as the #1 mystic realm of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Bai Ling was going to modify the mystic realm to make it more suitable for everyone to cultivate and experience. The maintenance of world peace business was officially launched. At the same time, the Mystic Department and Divine Mirror Enforcement Department were officially established. Chapter 767. A day later, the events that had taken place during the 4-9 Immortal Sect's grand inauguration ceremony had spread throughout the entire kingdom of the 9 states. Almost all of the first-rate sects had gathered, and countless immortals had come to congratulate them. All types of unique inheritances, several powerful return-to-void stage mighty figures, a sect protection spell formation that could force the sect leader of the Heavenly Sword sect, Lu Mingxian, and a peerlessly domineering sect leader's speech. All of this had spread like wildfire throughout the entire kingdom of the 9 states and even the entire Tai Chu continent. The 4-9 Immortal Sect's reputation soared, and it became the sect that was mentioned the most by all cultivators. It was as if the 4-9 Immortal Sect's trending search and discussion boards had been flooded by the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Even mortals who didn't cultivate were aware of how bad *SS this sect was. Not long after that, the news that the 4-9 Immortal Sect was recruiting disciples exploded like a bomb, creating a massive stir. Countless cultivators turned toward this legendary sect as their hearts thumped with eagerness. Within a tea-house in the Baihua state, there was an exquisitely beautiful woman, and all of the cultivators around her couldn't help but turn their attention toward her. However, her expression was as cold as a snow lotus, and none of the cultivators dared to do anything reckless. All of them had a feeling that this woman was not someone they could mess with. The woman had a pair of extremely intricate and beautiful dragon horns on her head, and they appeared pure and natural under the light of the sun. She was holding a newspaper in her hand, and her cold expression seemed to have melted as she looked at the passionate young man on the cover. Who would have thought that you'd already become so powerful in such a short time? She smiled, and her clear eyes were extremely gentle. In her heart, she silently labeled that man as a successful career. The 4-9 Immortal Sect? The inheritance of the primordial dragon tribe from the Dragon Pavilion sounds like a good idea, but I wonder if they'll accept someone like me who escaped from the Dragon Court. On a certain island in the East Sea, a round, fruit-like monster quickly ran toward the throne with a newspaper in his hand. Reporting, Your Majesty. The 4-9 Immortal Sect is officially recruiting disciples. On the throne, a green-haired man with bright, piercing eyes accepted the newspaper and stared at the portrait of the man on the newspaper with a dumbstruck expression. It's him. It really is him. What's going on with this world? That inexperienced youth is now the sect master of such a powerful sect? Has it really only been a year or two? Now that the Dragon Court wants to recruit me, why don't I join the 4-9 Immortal Sect? And Lin might be able to protect this island in consideration of our friendship in the Winter Dragon Tomb. The man fell into deep thought and finally made a decision. The 4-9 Immortal Sect was definitely going to be his backer. On the Tai Chu continent, a place where evil spirits and ferocious beasts roamed freely, a man from the Dragon Clan stood on top of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. In his hand was a jade tube of information he had obtained from a ferocious beast's spatial artifact. A smile suddenly appeared on his face. An authentic legacy of the primordial Dragon Clan? Interesting. Looks like it's time to find some time to meet that old ancestor. I hope he won't disappoint me. Holy Glacial Lands. The holy city was blown up by an unknown force. Millions of snow maidens perished in the explosion. A terrifyingly low temperature gushed forth from the holy glacial lands, and even the snow maidens who preferred to live in cold environments were unable to withstand it. Tens of millions of snow maidens in the holy glacial lands began to migrate. Among the migrating group, a white-haired woman with golden eyes read a newspaper with an almost imperceptible smile on her face. High Priestess Shangguan, why have you been staring at that newspaper for so long? My heart aches whenever I see that man. How detestable! Yen Hua's chest trembled with rage as she recalled the scene where her storage ring had been snatched from her. Shangguan Yi put away the newspaper awkwardly. This is a new sect in the Kingdom of the Nine State. Only by knowing one's own strength and one's enemy's strength can one better face one's enemies. Yen Hua shook her head. The Great Empress and the High Priestess have a very subtle attitude toward the Kingdom of the Nine States. Forget it, let's go to the opposite shore realm first. Shangguan Yi took a glance at the Holy Palace leader and felt like she really wasn't a bad person. She didn't dislike this snow maiden after all. In reality, most snow maidens weren't complicated. Many of them participated in battles for a single reason, and that was to survive. However, it was exactly because they wanted to survive that they were able to be more ruthless and decisive when it came to certain things. As a result, they became demonesses in the eyes of many living beings. For example, they were going to the opposite shore realm this time. They were going to seek refuge, but they were also going to expand their territory and slaughter. The holy glacial lands were no longer suitable for them to live in, so they could only go to the neighboring territories. The Kingdom of the Nine States was too powerful, and they would definitely be wiped out if they went there. The eastern region had already become a land of death, so they could only head west to the legendary realm of dead souls to see if they could bully the ghosts, at the same time, within a paradise filled with the chirping of birds and the fragrance of flowers. A woman enshrouded in divine light with her features obscured was humming a tune as she watered a divine flower. This water was immortal jade dream soul water harvested from the 9 heavens. A single cup of this water would allow a mortal to dream for 3,000 years and experience countless fantastical lives. She had once given a cup of immortal jade dream soul water to a mortal who was on the verge of death. That mortal thought that he had died and transmigrated to another world. Then, that mortal experienced a magnificent and moving life in this other world. After experiencing countless trials and tribulations, he successfully became the most powerful being in that other world. He even saved the world and finally ascended to the immortal realm. After ascending, he awoke from his dream. The mortal lay on that familiar yet strange bed, only to discover that everything was just a dream. The real him was still lying on the bed. What supreme of the continent? What dominating the world? What dominating the world? What dominating the world? It was all fake. So everything was just king dream. Trash was still trash. A terminal illness was still a terminal illness. That mortal broke down and cried himself to death. Who could have imagined that a supreme venerable who had forged a supreme Tao in a different world would end up crying to death in the end? The woman enshrouded in divine light quietly watered the flower with the immortal jade dream soul water. Her voice was like the sounds of nature, making one forget about the mundane world. What is a dream, and what is reality? If that mortal doesn't wake up, or if he ascends, that will be the end. If he never wakes up from the dream, then to that mortal, everything is probably reality. Xiao He, do you think we're also dreaming a dream that we might wake up from, or we might never wake up from? The woman enshrouded in divine light turned to the beautiful woman with the tail of a snake and a head of black hair. The black-haired woman was none other than Black Spirit Snake, who had been infuriated by Enlin. A light smile appeared on her face upon hearing this question. Your Majesty, if this really is a dream, then we have to be the happiest ones in the dream. The woman enshrouded in divine light seemed to have been amused by this, and the light around her became even brighter. Xiao He, I can see a hint of dissatisfaction and confusion in your expression. Black Spirit Snake pursed her lips. I lost my mansion and had my phoenix egg stolen, so be it. I'll just find an opportunity to beat him up in the future. But you actually bestowed him a blessed land, I. The woman chuckled. Are you very indignant? Are you very wronged? Do you really want to beat someone up? Black Spirit Snake. This world is about to take a turn for the worse, so I naturally have to make many arrangements. And Lin's meteoric rise proves that he is blessed by the heavens, so it's a good thing for us to forge a good relationship with him. Don't keep thinking about those things. Xiao He wouldn't dare. Black Spirit Snake bowed her head in a respectful manner. However, she didn't think much of this. Good relationship? No matter how good it is, I'll beat him up first. Chapter 768. Within the 4-9 Immortal Sect, Bai Ling, Lu Qianhuan, Xiao Zhe, and Little Lang were all busy choosing disciples. As the sect leader, Enlin roamed around the sect and enjoyed the scenery. Generally speaking, a bad SS sect leader didn't have to do everything himself. Just like what was written in some movies or novels, only when something earth-shattering happened would the sect master appear to turn the tide and put on a good show. Other than that, who knew what the sect leader was doing? To outsiders, they could just say that they were cultivating in seclusion. If they were caught having fun outside, they could just say that they were cultivating in the mortal world. No one would think much of it. Instead, they would think that they were becoming more and more mysterious. Enlin and Su Xiaolan held hands as they strolled up the full moon mountain. Enlin stood at the summit of the mountain and looked down at the entire sect. In the distance, there was a vast expanse of lush grasslands. A sense of pride welled up in his heart as he pointed down at the vast expanse of immortal buildings. Xiaolan looked down the mountain. What do you see? Su Xiaolan blinked with uncertainty. This is the territory of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. No. That's the territory I've conquered for you. Enlin chortled with glee. Su Xiaolan pursed her lips in resignation. You're getting more and more mischievous. Don't you like it? A dejected expression appeared on Enlin's face. Su Xiaolan tried to suppress her laughter, but her eyes had already curved into adorable crescent moons. She forced herself to play along with Enlin's act. I don't care how much territory your Majesty has conquered. All I want is for your majesty to know that there will always be a true heart in this world. Regardless of the wind, frost, rain, or snow, it will always be warm for you. Lin was dumbstruck. Never would he have thought that Su Xiaolan would be able to answer him so well. Even though she was just teasing him, Lin could detect the sincerity in her words. He recalled everything that Su Xiaolan had done for him that day when he was on the brink of death. There would always be a sincere heart in this world. Regardless of the wind, frost, rain, or snow, it would always be warm for him. Lin stared at the woman in front of him in a daze. There were thousands of flirtatious expressions in the world, but how could they compare to this woman's shallow and bright smile at this moment? Are you shocked by my wit? Su Xiaolan looked at Lin's dazed expression and couldn't help but find it funny. Don't talk. Kiss me. Lin leaned forward. Su Xiaolan's expression faltered. Their lips touched at this moment. This kiss was sweeter than the best bejeweled nectar, better than countless things in the world. After a while, the two of them sat on a huge rock that extended out of the cliff, gazing at the vast and pleasant scenery in the distance. The clear blue sky, the pure white clouds, and the undulating green of the earth were all very monotonous colors, but when they were combined together, it was incomparably pleasant. What a beautiful scenery! Su Xiaolan sighed with emotion. She placed her hands behind her back and looked up at the sky. A light breeze swept up her hair, making her appear even more graceful and elegant. Lin stared at her for a few seconds before replying with a serious expression, "A spring breeze cannot compare to a smile from you." Su Xiaolan glanced at Lin from the corner of her eyes. "Are you done yet?" "Honest people are always so direct," Lin replied with a serious expression. Su Xiaolan. The two of them continued to chat idly. Su Xiaolan's cultivation base had already reached the soul formation intermediate stage, and her progression was like a rocket. Perhaps this had something to do with the vermilion bird bloodline in her body. After all, that was the essential blood of a holy beast. Coupled with her freakish aptitude, it would be strange if she wasn't bad. SS Su Xiaolan's cultivation base was the same as Lin's, and she could surpass it at any time. This made Lin feel a sense of pressure. He felt like it was time for him to regain his manhood. He couldn't let Enritian become a pretty boy in the Xiaolan family, could he? How was he supposed to regain his manhood? Lin turned his gaze toward his sea of vital energy again. All of this came back to Enchantment. He remembered that the closest he came to success was when he used Lu Qinhuan's tribulation lightning to create a lavish cape for Enchantment. Enchantment was like his little electric motor. Anything that he could use, Lin could also use, such as the golden void lightning or the white lightning that was imbued with extremely powerful sword intent. He could also borrow the power of the white flaming vermilion bird from time to time, but that vermilion bird was extremely arrogant, so he couldn't use it even if he wanted to. As for that little whale of the body of chaotic essence that Enchantment used as a steed, it was a tough character that lived in his house without paying rent. However, Lin couldn't do anything about it and could only allow it to dance around in his sea of vital energy. "Xiaolan, do you remember the golden baby that I suddenly spat out during my tribulation transcendence?" Lin suddenly asked. "I do. Enchantment. I named him after him. Didn't you eat him?" Su Xiaolan blinked with curiosity. Lin's face convulsed slightly, and he corrected her with a serious expression. "I didn't eat him. I swallowed him into my sea of vital energy." Su Xiaolan pursed her lips. "That's about it. Now, I want to give him a piece of clothing because he's been running around naked in my sea of vital energy this entire time, and I can't stand it. Do you have any ideas?" Lin continued. "Su Xiaolan, all of us have seen Enchantment naked in the past, and you didn't say anything about it. What? Now that he's running around naked in your sea of vital energy all by himself, you can't stand it?" Su Xiaolan was a little perplexed, but she was also a little amused. Lin was a little speechless. To be honest, no matter how much Kiran ran around naked in his sea of vital energy, he didn't find it strange at all. He was just a child. Running with his but bare and a small elephant trunk was called innocence. And Lin could only come clean with Su Xiaolan. Alright, I'm going to put clothes on Kiran and teach him a lesson. Only then will I be able to progress to the soul formation final stage. Su Xiaolan was astonished. And Lin, I've discovered that your method of cultivation is becoming more and more crooked. And Lin replied with an expression of despair, I don't want to either. I've been stuck at this bottleneck for almost a year. What can I do? Don't worry, it's only been a year. There are some cultivators who have been stuck at the soul formation stage for thousands of years. Don't be hasty, take your time. Su Xiaolan waved her hand to indicate that this was normal. And Lin shook his head. No, I can't see any hope of progressing to the soul formation stage. What's the point of cultivating if I don't progress by a rank in a year? Su Xiaolan. Sometimes I feel like the students at our school are all very tolerant. And Lin understood what she was saying, and he chuckled. Those who aren't powerful will get beaten up if they flex. However, those who are powerful, and extremely powerful, will attract fans when they flex. Su Xiaolan rolled her eyes. Even if they fight, they won't be able to beat you. Correct. And Lin chuckled. Then, Xiaolan, do you have any good ideas that can help me break through my bottleneck? No, I've never raised a child before, and I've never raised a child in my sea of vital energy. Su Xiaolan couldn't be bothered with Lin, and she snapped, You can figure it out yourself. And Lin pulled on Su Xiaolan's hand. Don't be like this. Hurry up and tell me. Su Xiaolan was astonished, and her beautiful eyes lingered on Lin's body. Lin, you're actually acting like a spoiled child in front of me? Lin, that's right, why was he acting like a spoiled child in front of Su Xiaolan? Hiss. Was this still in Ritian's style? Was it because Su Xiaolan's aura was too strong, or was it because his aura was too weak? Lin suddenly turned toward Su Xiaolan and lifted her chin with a finger. A sly smile appeared on his face. Woman, you have to think of a way for me. Otherwise, I'm going to be unhappy. Su Xiaolan. Chapter 769. Su Xiaolan was caught off guard by Lin's sudden display of dominance, and a rare blush appeared on her flawless features. However, before Lin had a chance to do anything else, a pair of hands landed on his shoulders and gave him a violent shove. Boom! Lin was pinned against a rock by Su Xiaolan. She had her hands on Lin's shoulders, and holy flames revolved around her body as she looked down upon Lin with a pair of eyes imbued with dragon might. You! Lin stared at Su Xiaolan with astonishment etched on his face. I don't like your domineering attitude. A faint smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face, but there was a hint of smugness on her face. Lin took a deep breath. I'll make sure you get used to it. Boom! 4 divine flames appeared at once. Flames exploded, and heaven and earth tremored violently. 9 immortal sects full moon mountain was instantly engulfed in sword-intent, boundless lightning, and scorching flames. Everyone clicked their tongues in wonder as they looked up at the mountain. Shui Zhantian was in high spirit. Master and mistress are glued to each other again, and they're making love again. Dabai yawned before stroking Shui Zhantian's ball-like body with a lazy paw. I don't even need to look to know that Big Brother is going to be rubbed into the ground by Xiaolan in the end. Woof. Why? Shui Zhantian was perplexed. Master is a powerful being. Xiaolan is powerful, but how could she possibly defeat Master? A mysterious smile appeared on Dabai's face. You don't understand. There is a power known as love, and it can suppress Big Brother An's power so that he will never be able to defeat Xiaolan. Make love. Shui Zhantian nodded with a hint of understanding. After an intense sparring session, Lin was pinned to the ground by Su Xiaolan again. Both of them were panting heavily, clearly having expended a lot of energy during that battle. Phew! That felt great. Su Xiaolan wiped the sweat from her forehead with a smile. And Lin sighed with emotion. You've progressed to the soul formation intermediate stage, and your power has increased significantly. If things continue like this, I'm afraid you're going to surpass me soon. Su Xiaolan wiped the sweat from Enlin's brow with a handkerchief before asking in a gentle voice, "How was it? Did your cultivation base improve a bit after that?" Enlin fell into despair again at the mention of this. I didn't. Not only did Enkiran not respond to the power of the Golden Void Lightning, but Enkiran didn't even respond when he borrowed the power of the Golden Void Lightning. All he could do was sleep. In the past, when I borrowed strength from it, it would pretend to point its finger at the sky in my spiritual energy ocean. And Su to say, he Enlin of Lin of, Enlin said with a Xiaolan. Enlin heaved a forlorn sigh. He's hopeless. And Kiran doesn't even know how to flex anymore, so how is he going to put on clothes? His journey to break through the bottleneck finally ended in failure. And Lin felt like his system was crazy. How was he supposed to find a direction without even clarifying the conditions? Just tell me how you're going to dress in Kiran. No matter how hard he tried, the only response he received was a cold interface. 2 more days passed by in the 4-9 Immortal set. Bai Ling designed a trial in the small world of the Phoenix Research Institute known as Ghost Soldiers. That test targeted the trial taker's divine soul and Tao heart. In a dim space, countless ghost soldiers surged toward them, and all types of ghostly illusions appeared, making the trial takers lose their composure. Dabai was the guinea pig. Tui, the little white dog, was also participating in the trial. If all the disciples died in there, then it wouldn't be called a trial anymore. Instead, it would be a slaughterhouse. Hence, Dabai had to participate in person to test out the firepower of this trial. Then, Bai Ling would perform the necessary data analysis. In the most difficult ghost soldier trial, he attained enlightenment amid the howling and wailing of ghosts. Silver gale force winds swept through the surroundings, instantly vanquishing all of the ghost soldiers. Bai Ling was dumbstruck for a moment, and Enlin suddenly stood up with an expression of ecstasy on his face. Dabai stared blankly at the silver gale force winds in a radius of 100 feet. After a few seconds of stupefaction, he finally let loose a cry of joy. Ha! I finally have my own domain, woof! Dabai's domain was very powerful. Not only was it a wind-type domain, but it was also imbued with extremely powerful consciousness attack. That night, everyone gathered together for a celebratory dinner. Thank you, Big Brotherin, for your immortal pills and spirit pills. Thank you, Big Sister Bai, for your sea-bead immortal fruits. Thank you, everyone, for your support. I, Dabai, will be the first to drink, woof. Dabai raised his cup and took a large swig. He was clearly in high spirit. Everyone also raised their cups with elation before downing their cups at the same time. In this sect, everyone was a family. They were all very happy to see a member make a breakthrough. I'm the happiest that Dabai has 1 foot in the soul formation stage. Enlin raised his cup with excitement on his face. After all, he's the only one in my beast pet group who hasn't reached the soul formation stage yet. As his master, I'm naturally very anxious. Think about it, it's been a year and he hasn't taken a single step forward. What kind of nonsense is that? Gasp. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air as they stared in shock at the man who spoke with confidence and composure. They shouted in their hearts, "We're not the same." Thankfully, Dabai has also taken that step, and I can finally rest assured. Come, let's have another cup. Enlin raised his cup high into the air. Everyone raised their cups and downed their cup. Tang Shiman, who was about to graduate, was still at the spirit-nurturing final stage. What kind of *T prodigy am I? I can't even compare to a dog, he said with tears streaming down his face. Xian Yuan Cheng patted Tang Shiman's shoulder in consolation. It's not just you, even I'm under a lot of pressure. Hence, I'm planning to take advantage of this break to raise my cultivation base to the soul formation initial stage. Otherwise, I won't be going to school anymore. Tang Shimin, are you really here to console me? Why do I feel even sadder? Big Brother An's beast pets are no match for him. His beast pets are at least at the soul formation stage. Don't worry, Senior. Miao Tian also patted Tang Shimin's shoulder in consolation. Tang Shimin finally heaved a sigh of relief at the sight of Miao Tian's adorable smile, and a relieved smile appeared on his face. Get out of my way, junior brother. Junior sister is the best, hee. That's right, classmate Miao Tian is right. Luo Zipping nodded in agreement. Take Shui Zhantian for example. He's clearly just a ball, but he's almost at the return to void stage. We can't say that Senior Tang can't even compare to a ball, right? What kind of ball is that? Tang Shimin's expression darkened upon hearing this, and he pointed at Luo Zipping. Get out of here. I don't have such a prickly junior brother like you. Everyone burst into laughter, and the air was filled with a joyful atmosphere. Lu Qianhuan poured herself a glass of wine and took a small sip. A relaxed smile appeared on her face as she looked at the lively scene before her. She didn't think that her whimsical thoughts with Enlin on the forest path would really turn into a lively and harmonious scene tonight. Huan, let me offer you a toast. May our sword pavilion prosper day by day. A long-haired beauty walked over with a smile. Lu Qianhuan raised her head to see that the newcomer was Xianzhu. She was her best friend, who had graduated from the Celestial Court and had come here to start a business with her. She nodded with a smile and clinked glasses with Xianzhu. Don't worry, our sword pavilion is going to surpass the Heavenly Sword sect in the future. Lu Qianhuan downed her glass as she spoke. Chapter 770. Night fell, and a bright moon hung high in the sky. Under the moonlight there was a petite figure meditating on a rock. She was the number one and only disciple of the 4-9 Immortal sect. Yiling weak vital energy surged through her body, and it was clear that her meridians had already been opened, allowing her to draw energy into her body. She had become a cultivator of the first stage Tao body. She looked up at the white-robed figure in the distance with a bright and piercing gaze. She only came to her senses after a long while, and she shook her head as she murmured to herself, Master, I'll definitely work hard in my cultivation and repay you for everything you've done for me. Little Ling won't disappoint you. Yiling made up her mind, and a solemn expression appeared on her face as she immersed herself in cultivation again. Master had told her that her aptitude was very good and that she would definitely become an exceptional cultivator in the future. The next morning, a flat, circular mechanical object that resembled a flying saucer flew out from the Phoenix Research Institute and hovered in the air above the 4-9 Immortal sect. It had a diameter of several hundred meters, and its entire body was pristine white. It glowed with a dazzling sheen under the sunlight, giving it an extremely futuristic appearance. Lu Qianhuan was extremely excited. Wow! Isn't that an alien flying saucer? Xian Yuanqing was a little surprised. Have we seen that thing somewhere before? There was a flying saucer with a similar appearance in Celestial Immortal Shou Yang's tomb, Enlin replied. Everyone came to a sudden realization. No wonder it looked so familiar. Xian Yuanqing and the others recalled the horror of being dominated by the bald man, while Tang Shimin recalled the horror of lying on a stretcher like a dead fish. Whoosh! The white flying saucer disappeared into the clouds before flying into the distance at an extremely fast speed. Today was the day of the examination for all the disciples who wanted to sign up for the 4-9 Immortal sect. According to incomplete statistics, there were over 1 million people from the Kingdom of the 9 States and even the entire Tai Chu continent who wanted to enter the 4-9 Immortal sect. There were men and women, young and old. Dong Guo, the white-scaled wolf god, Lu Qianhuan, Su Qianyun, Xiao Chou, and Xiao Zhe. After 5 days of careful selection, only over 10,000 disciples who met the basic requirements were left. Bai Ling was currently on her way to the Purple Star State's selection grounds to pick up over 10,000 disciples for the final trial. Lin and the others who pursued elite education might only be left with a few dozen core disciples in the end. As for the disciples in the outer pavilion who handled all kinds of mundane affairs, it would all depend on their mood. After Xiaozi finished selecting the disciples, he first traveled through space to report the situation. Master, there are a total of 16 disciples of the Soul Formation stage, 309 of the Spirit Nurturing stage, 2333 of the 6th stage Tao Body and above, 5201 of the 6th stage Tao Body and below, and 1210 of the 5th stage Tao Body, who don't have a cultivation base but have decent aptitude in. Master, I also saw a woman this time. She's especially exquisite. Are you interested? He inched closer to Enlin and asked in a low voice. As he spoke, he glanced at Su Xiaolan in the distance. Master's wife didn't notice. Enlin chuckled. Who was he? How could he lay his hands on the disciples of his sect? Little Xiao, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're already a pavilion master. Why aren't you serious? The development of a sect requires a good environment and a harmonious cultivation atmosphere. How can you be a teacher if you have other thoughts when you see a beautiful woman? We have to lead by example and be honest and upright. This is what a top-rate sect should be like, understand? Enlin scolded him without hesitation. Xiaozi lowered his head in shame. You're right, master. Then, tell me, which woman made you lose your composure like this? Enlin puffed out his chest and spoke with his head held high. Xiaozi faltered slightly before becoming excited again. She's a member of the Dragon Court of the Eastern Seas. Not only is she as beautiful as a celestial maiden, but she's also supremely talented and extremely powerful. Her bloodline is also extremely pure. As long as she cultivates and develops normally, there's even a sliver of hope for her to reach the Tao integration stage, let alone the return to void stage. Don't you think she's exquisite? Enlin was astonished. Such a bad *SS candidate would come to our sect? Would the Dragon Court of the Eastern Seas be willing to let her go? She's a Tao integration stage seed. It wasn't that he was looking down on his sect, but rather, there was no need for them to do this. What were they after? How powerful was a Tao integration stage cultivator? Just one of them was enough to rival a super sect. That's the most exciting part. I heard that she left the Dragon Court of the Eastern Seas for some reason. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to take advantage of her. How about it? Is Master interested? Xiao Zhe winked at Enlin as he spoke, as if to say, you know what I mean. Enlin was struck by a sense of familiarity upon hearing this. Do you think that exquisite dragon maiden of yours is called Balian? Enlin asked. Xiaozi was given a fright. Holy F***ck. Master, how did you know? Enlin. A silver flying disc appeared in the sky at this moment before slowly descending. 10,000 cultivators who were about to undergo their final cultivation appeared on the territory of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. An extremely eye-catching woman appeared before Xiaozi and Enlin. Xiaozi pointed at the woman and was just about to speak. However, the woman had already taken the initiative to make her way toward the two of them. Her eyes roamed over Enlin's body as she extended a slender hand. Enlin, we meet again. Enlin shook her hand with a smile on his face. Long time no see, Dragon Maiden. Welcome to the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Balian chuckled. I hope sect leader Enlin doesn't look down on me. Of course not. If you want to join my sect, I'll let you in through the back door. Enlin waved a hand in a lavish manner. So be it. I'll just follow the rules. The sect leader has to be impartial, so I can't break the rules just because of me. The cold expression on Balian's face had already disappeared, and it was replaced by a relaxed smile. That's fine. With your power, those trials are nothing. By the way, how have you been in the past 2 years? Enlin asked. Xiaoza's eyes widened as he looked at Enlin, then at Balian. The two of them were chatting merrily, but he couldn't get a word in edgewise. He suddenly felt like an extra. At the same time, Xiaoza was also filled with admiration. As expected of Master. He had finally found a supreme-grade woman, but she turned out to be Master's friend. He had beauties all over the world. His luck with women was truly unparalleled. Xiaoza was extremely envious. He couldn't help but turn his gaze toward Master's wife. Master's wife's eyes were very sharp and filled with killing intent for some reason, and Lin's body shuddered before a smile appeared on his face. Ms. Balian, let me congratulate you in advance for passing the trial and for joining our big family. This was the end of the conversation. Balian nodded with a smile before returning to the group of trial takers. Xiaoza sighed with emotion upon seeing this, and he began to sympathize with his master. So what if he had beauties all over the world? His wife could kill him with a single glance. Chapter 771. Li Tong's voice was hoarse as blood rushed to his head. After swearing, his vision darkened and he completely fainted. I've become immortal? Li Tong blinked, but he wasn't too surprised. Boom! A mysterious power descended and stripped him of all his power. But I also know that there is always someone better than you out there. Xian Yuanqing saw the sudden silence and smiled calmly. It's all right, I won't tell the sect leader about this. Just don't do this next time. Do your best and participate in the trial. We will treat everyone equally in the following trials. Good luck. Light flashed and the space around them changed. Looking up, there was no end in sight. Li Tong didn't give up. He knew that when the heavens were about to bestow a great responsibility on a person, they would first have to suffer their will, tire their bones, starve their skin, and empty their bodies. This was the gate leading to the Purple Star Phoenix Research Institute, which had been renamed the Phoenix Small World. And he still had to travel 9,999 times the usual distance? He arrived in a vast expanse of white space. In front of him was a flight of stairs leading to the sky. Finally, he climbed to the front of the stone tablet. Li Tong crawled with tears streaming down his face. He finally saw the end. Many of the cultivators who greeted him stood rooted to the spot as if they had been struck by lightning. His eyes were bloodshot, and he crawled toward the stone tablet as if he wanted to cry but couldn't. Greetings, sect leader. Not only that, but every breath I take here is very comfortable. The vital energy here is very rich. Under Bai Ling's guidance, the cultivators arrived in front of a gigantic gate of light. Li Tong couldn't walk anymore, so he crawled slowly. Li Tong rubbed his eyes and looked at the words on the stone tablet. Then, he looked up at the flight of stairs that stretched on endlessly. The Divine Battle Sect was very famous, but it was only a medium-sized sect in the Kingdom of the Nine States with only one soul formation stage ancestor. After climbing another 100,000 or so steps, a female cultivator said with a passionate look in her eyes. Pavilion leader Xianyuan, I will definitely do my best. Li Tong began to walk toward the endless flight of stairs, one step at a time. A prodigy of the Divine Battle Sect was able to persevere to this extent. Li Tong was touched by his own actions. May I ask, what kind of trial are we going to undergo? A female cultivator asked weakly. He rested for a while, then continued walking. Thinking of this, everyone's hearts burned a little more. Their desire to become a core disciple of the inner pavilion became stronger and firmer. Fuck, how far is the finish line? Li Tong couldn't help grumbling. The man revealed a gentle smile. His smile was as warm as spring. My name is Li Tong, and I come from the Divine Battle Sect. I am the most talented core disciple of the Divine Battle Sect. Li Tong gave a relaxed smile. A test of perseverance? I'm not boasting about this kind of trial, but I can persevere until I die without giving up. His hands were bloody from the friction of the stairs, and the soles of his feet were covered in blisters. All the cultivators were dumbfounded. There was actually such a handsome man in this world. Yes, it must be. He's so dashing and elegant, like an immortal. His pitch-black eyes seem to contain countless stars. It's really amazing. The man pointed in a certain direction, where there was a rather handsome man dressed in white. Looking down, there was no end in sight. That man is the legendary Lin, right? He saw a stone tablet at the end of the stairs. All the cultivators excitedly expressed their views. The female cultivator's eyes were misty, and even the male cultivator's eyes were burning with excitement. What a gentle, what a good person! Li Tong was exhausted and hungry. In any case, he, Li Tong, would be the one to become a core disciple of the cabinet in the end. And Lin had the deepest understanding of this. Seeing a group of cuties about to usher in an unforgettable life, he felt a little carefree. It could be said that he was extremely talented. He was very impressed with himself. Fuck, just how high are these stairs? If it wasn't for my astonishing perseverance, I really wouldn't have been able to persevere until here. I believe I'll reach the finish line soon. After walking another 100,000 steps, unknowingly they had walked another 100,000 steps. We definitely won't make the same mistake next time. CK your mom. Phew, so tired. It's been a long time since I experienced the exercise of a mortal body. Li Tong smiled faintly, but he wasn't the slightest bit discouraged. Li Tong wiped off his sweat and sat down on the stairs, exhausted. He's walking over. Heavens! Humans strive for greater heights, so here I am. 1 step, 2 steps. The man dressed in white walked in front of the trial participants. So awkward, before they knew it, they were walking and resting. When they were too tired, they would sit on the stairs and rest. After entering, no matter what happens, you have to remember one thing, and that is to persevere, understand? Bai Ling said. For example, the legendary 4-9 immortal sect was destined to stand proudly on the entire continent. An awkward expression appeared on the white-robed man's face. I'm not the sect leader. I'm the pavilion leader of the Spirit Pavilion, Xianyuan Cheng. Your sect leader is over there. He had finally passed this terrifying trial of perseverance. He, Li Tong, had persevered. He looked down the stairs, but he couldn't see the end. He then looked up the stairs, but he also couldn't see the end, everyone. Wah! How King long is this road? He walked step by step, but he couldn't see the end. However, he knew that the finish line was right in front of him. Thus, he walked with peace of mind. Li Tong placed his hands on the stone tablet and looked at the words on it. Everyone's heart jolted upon hearing this. The vital energy here was even richer than the 9 Imperials tribe's territory. This was definitely a top-grade cultivation ground. Countless cultivators frantically farmed goodwill point. If the trial wasn't difficult, how could it eliminate others? Before they knew it, they had climbed over 1,000,000 steps. 1 step, 2 steps. This was definitely not King surprise, right? It had to be a shock. In the end, they climbed a few 100,000 steps. Oh, there were no more tears. You can pass the trial if you reach the end. Say you give up, and you can leave this space. Bai Ling's voice sounded from within the space. Everyone. It was a basic operation, and it was even a little cliché. That's right, I was once the captain of the guards in the 1,000-flow Imperial family. The vital energy here is even richer than in the Imperial city. Finally, Bai Ling smiled lightly. I'm not telling you, there's a surprise in store. The atmosphere fell into an eerie silence. Crawl until hunger engulfed his entire body, crawl until thirst made him think of water every second, crawl until his voice became hoarse and he didn't even have the energy to speak, crawl until his entire body was in excruciating pain, as if his entire body was about to break down. I'm so young, and it only took me 100 years to become a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator of the sect. Boundless battle intent burst forth from Li Tong's eyes, and he strode into the gate of light with absolute confidence. 1/10,000th of the trial, and he almost lost his life. After walking for what seemed like an eternity, beads of sweat began to appear on his forehead, and his legs began to tremble. Close to 10,000 prospective disciples surveyed the sect in front of them with heartfelt admiration. At this moment, Xianyuan Cheng's status in their hearts had been elevated immeasurably higher. For the sake of Xianyuan Cheng, they had to work hard to stay in the 4-9 immortal sect. Li Tong was about to have a mental breakdown, and his body trembled as he continued to climb upward. However, he wasn't going to give up. How could he give up if he couldn't reach the end? Greetings, sect leader Enlin. How majestic! Is this an immortal sect? Even the scenery is comparable to the imperial palace. I've left my former sect and joined the 4-9 immortal sect. I'm going to start a new life in the 4-9 immortal sect and walk toward the pinnacle of the continent. Congratulations, you have completed 1/10,000th of the trial. The more difficult, the better. The more challenging, the better. There were also some cultivators who were gloating over Li Tong's misfortune. How dare he not look at the portrait of the 4-9 immortal sect's sect leader before coming to the sect? What an idiot! I'm not going to tell you guys. I'll let you guys have a bad impression of me first so that I can gain an advantage. Come, let's experience the terror of being dominated by the trial designer who has no moral integrity. Chapter 772. After Li Tong fainted, it was unknown how much time had passed in the darkness. When he regained consciousness, he tried to open his eyes. It was a vast expanse of whiteness. Beside him was a stone tablet that indicated that the progress was already 1/10,000. Hunger, fatigue, and pain enveloped his entire body. Li Tong couldn't understand. Was there really someone who could pass such a trial? With this crippled body, he probably wouldn't even be able to complete the next 1/10,000th of the journey, let alone reach the end. He would die of exhaustion on the road. Yes, he would definitely die of exhaustion on the road. Think about it. What kind of experience would it be to walk up the stairs until one was on the verge of death and only complete 1/10,000th of the journey? This was also the reason why Li Tong fainted in despair when he found out the truth. Now that he had woken up, he was still in despair. That's impossible. No one can pass this trial. You're playing me, aren't you? Li Tong looked up at the sky and shouted in despair. There was no response. What answered him was an ice-cold space and an endless flight of stairs. Li Tong's body trembled as he hesitated for a long time. Finally, he looked at the endless flight of stairs and took a step forward with great difficulty. He continued to climb. He would not give up. It was clearly an impossible mission, but for some reason, he really didn't want to give up. He wasn't willing to fail here. His willpower was invincible. He was going to crawl until he died. His body trembled as he continued to crawl, only to find that his body seemed to no longer obey his commands. After climbing for an unknown amount of time, he had only climbed 10,000 steps. Li Tong bitterly smiled. He probably wouldn't be able to see the second steel even if he crawled to his death. As a prodigy of the battling divine sect, he had come all the way to the 4-9 immortal sect to pursue his dream of becoming an immortal sect, but this dream was going to be shattered in the end. Li Tong was unwilling. How could he leave like a defeated dog? He gritted his teeth and continued to climb. The thought of giving up had flashed through his mind countless times. His body, which was enduring immense pain, urged him to give up. His pride as a genius urged him to give up. His rationality urged him to give up, but he really couldn't accept it. Li Tong's state of mind had undergone a transformation. The chaotic thoughts in his mind had already disappeared. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to continue climbing. At most, he would die on the road. Sometimes, from immature to mature, it may only be a matter of a moment. Li Tong had forgotten how long he had been climbing. He fainted a few times from exhaustion, but when he woke up, he continued climbing. He did not know where the 210,000th stone tablet was. One day, he fainted from exhaustion. When he woke up, he found himself in a spacious hall. Beside him were thousands of people who were participating in the trial with him. Did he fail? Li Tong's eyes were red as he murmured. Then, he noticed that most of the cultivators were looking at him with strange gazes. What was going on? Why did these people look at him, the loser, with envy and admiration? At this moment, a very beautiful woman in white appeared in front of him with a smile on her face. The white-robed woman was the person who had designed this trial. Bai Ling, congratulations, Li Tong, you've obtained first place in this trial. Bai Ling smiled. First place. Li Tong was dumbfounded and stuttered. I didn't reach the end, did I? He remembered that he hadn't even made it to the second 1,000th of the steel. After passing out countless times, he had finally arrived at this place between fainting and waking up. End. Bai Ling blinked. That trial doesn't have an end. Li Tong was dumbfounded again. He paused for a moment before replying. Didn't you say that you had to reach the end in order to pass the trial? Also, that stone tablet stated the distance to the end. Oh, I lied to you. The stairs are actually endless and you can never climb to the end, Bai Ling confessed in a very natural manner. Li Tong couldn't describe the feeling in his heart. He wanted to vomit blood. The other 10,000 cultivators looked at Li Tong with sympathy. When they first heard this news, they also felt like **T. Some cultivators even fainted from anger again. Bai Ling clasped her hands behind her back and gazed into the void, as if she could see through the river of time. She slowly said, "That stairs have no end. Isn't the path of seeking Tao like this? Over the course of countless years, how many people have fallen on the path of seeking Tao? No one can see the end of the path. The only thing you can do is to keep moving forward and see who can go further. Some people will fall into despair and break down because of the difficulty of seeking Tao, while others will give up very quickly. However, there are also some people who don't stop. They are unwilling to stop just like that. Their only thought is to keep moving forward. They walk on the path that seems to have an end, but they can't reach the end at all. In the end, they die of exhaustion." Close to 10,000 cultivators fell into deep thought as they listened to Bai Ling's words. Some of them even hung their heads in shame. That's right, this was a test of perseverance. Everyone understood that. However, understanding and being able to do it were two different things. Bai Ling looked at Li Tong with approval on her face. "Among everyone here, you are the only one who didn't give up and walked on the stairs the longest. You are the undisputed number one." Li Tong was once again moved by his own perseverance as he listened to Bai Ling's words. Clap, clap, clap. No one knew who started the applause, but the thunderous sound of the applause went straight to the sky. Most of the cultivators were completely won over by Li Tong's perseverance. Tears welled up in Li Tong's eyes. "Wah! I really am a prodigy, I really am the most bad *SS. When the crowd of cultivators heard his acceptance speech, their applause slowly cooled down. Bai Ling. Next, the top 1,000 cultivators will participate in the second trial with me. The rest of you will remain where you are. You can accept the position of outer pavilion disciple, but you still have to participate in the trial. You can decide whether to leave or stay," Bai Ling announced. "There's still a trial?" Li Tong's eyes widened. Bai Ling chuckled coldly. "Do you think it's that easy to become a core disciple of the 4-9 Immortal sect?" Li Tong didn't say anything. Close to 9,000 people were eliminated in just one trial. The next trial would probably be even more terrifying, right? Li Tong started to panic as he thought back to that feeling of near death. Even Lin, Xianyuan Cheng, and the others who were watching from the sidelines were astonished. If they put themselves in that trial's shoes, they would feel like it was a nightmare. Perhaps they wouldn't even be able to do as well as Li Tong. Climbing the stairs to death. Are you afraid? As expected of a trial designer, Bai Ling was too terrifying. The cultivators who were eliminated were the first to give up. Although they were disappointed, there was nothing they could do. The only thing they could do now was to decide whether they wanted to continue participating in the trial and fight to become an Outer Pavilion disciple of the 4-9 Immortal sect. Outer Pavilion disciples dealt with external affairs, and the cultivation methods and cultivation resources they received definitely couldn't compare to Inner Pavilion disciples. However, sect leader Lin had said that especially outstanding Outer Pavilion disciples had a chance of being promoted to Inner Pavilion disciples. Li Tong and close to 1,000 other trial takers followed Bai Ling into the second trial. Chapter 773. Li Tong arrived at a crimson continent. Looking around, he could see strange blood-colored plants growing all around him, some of which were even burning with raging flames. Huh? Where is this? A crisp female voice sounded. This might be the legendary small phoenix world of the 4-9 Immortal sect, a coarse male voice sounded. Li Tong turned around and found two people standing next to him. They looked a little familiar, and they seemed to be cultivators who were also participating in the trial. Sensing their cultivation base fluctuations, he discovered that they were cultivators of the spirit-nurturing initial stage, the same rank as him. At this moment, Bai Ling's voice sounded from the sky again. In this small world, find a lake with black water, and you'll pass the trial. Hearing this, Li Tong instantly analyzed the situation. A seeking-type trial? Then, the trial takers with similar cultivation bases to him were clearly assigned by Bai Ling on purpose. They weren't competitors, but rather teammates. Fellow cultivators, I'm Li Tong. Would you like to search for the Black Water Lake with me? Li Tong invited his teammates in a friendly manner. The beautiful female cultivator was slightly dazed upon hearing this. Then, she smiled. Li Tong, my Dao name is Ding Xiang. I'd be happy to search for the Black Water Lake with you. The well-built male nodded. Fellow cultivator Li Tong, my name is Qing Yingxiong. I recognize you. You performed very well in the previous trial, so I'd like to go with you. You flatter me, Qing Yingxiong. I was just lucky, Li Tong said modestly, but he was feeling very good in his heart. It seemed like he had left a very good impression in the eyes of the trial takers in the previous trial. Look at that lily-like girl. Even when she looked at him, there was a hint of reverence and trust in her eyes. What's this? This is personal charisma. Just like that, the three cultivators happily formed a team and began searching for the legendary Black Water Lake. This trial obviously wasn't as simple as finding the Black Water Lake. There were definitely other hidden dangers. Otherwise, how could the other trial takers be eliminated? This was indeed the case. During their search, they encountered fire-breathing plants, various types of flaming beasts, and even flaming birds. The three of them were all of the spirit-nurturing initial stage, so they had no problems dealing with these monsters. Just like that, 2 days passed. Their search was fruitless, but the three of them had developed a tacit understanding of each other. On the third day, the three of them flew past a scarlet ravine and found a lake at the end. Look over there, there's a lake, Clove said excitedly. When Li Tong and Qing Yingxiong saw this, a look of pleasant surprise appeared on their faces. They also increased the speed of their flying sword. Regardless of whether this was the Black Water Lake that Bai Ling was talking about or not, they would still try their luck at the side of the lake. Qing Yingxiong was the first to fly to the center of the lake. He frowned and said, although the lake water is turbid and red, it is clearly not Blackwater Lake. Li Tong and Lilac looked at the lake, disappointment flashing across their faces. At this moment, a huge splash suddenly appeared on the surface of the lake. Rumble! A giant flood dragon over 100 feet long soared into the sky and bit at Qing Yingxiong. Qing Yingxiong's expression changed greatly, and he immediately activated his protective spell. At this time, the giant flood dragon's bloody mouth had already enveloped his body. He immediately used the giant sword to block the top of his head, but the giant sword blocked the giant mouth as it closed. Ah! Help! Qing Ingxiong struggled to resist the giant dragon's bite and was about to collapse. Boom boom, another 2 giant flood dragons appeared on the surface of the lake, a dangerous glint flashing in their crimson eyes. Qing Ingxiong. When Li Tong saw this, he immediately prepared to rush over to help. However, Lilac grabbed his hand at this moment. Li Tong, don't be rash. Those 3 giant flood dragons are all of the spirit-nurturing intermediate stage. They are clearly waiting for us to go over. We're only of the spirit-nurturing initial stage. If we go over, there's a high chance that we'll die there. Lilac tried to dissuade him. But there's still hope. Li Tong said through gritted teeth. Are you stupid? Don't forget what our objective is. It's to find the Black Water Lake through cultivation. We're not going to die here for our teammates. Lilac yelled. Boom boom. The 2 giant flood dragons spread their wings and pounced toward Li Tong and Lilac. They were extremely fast, and it was clear that they had decided to take the initiative to attack. Run! Seeing this, Lilac yelled and turned around to run. Li Tong's body trembled. Qing Ingxiong was about to be swallowed by the giant flood dragons. It wasn't impossible to rescue Qing Ingxiong from the encirclement of 2 spirit-nurturing flood dragons. However, the danger was too great. I'm sorry, Mr. Qing Ingxiong. My dream is to pursue the Great Tao. I can't die here. Li Tong yelled, as if to alleviate the guilt in his heart. Then, he turned around and ran. Li Tong, save me! Qing Ingxiong's cry for help came from behind him. Li Tong closed his eyes and gritted his teeth. Then, he fled into the distance. Behind him, the roars of the giant flood dragons as well as the sounds of Qing Ingxiong's body being torn to shreds could be heard. Li Tong fled frantically. Then, heaven and earth were plunged into darkness. He was momentarily dazed. Then, he fell unconscious. Within the boundless darkness, he slowly regained consciousness. Li Tong forced his hazy eyes open and discovered that he had arrived in a familiar space. This is... why am I here? A bad premonition welled up in his heart. He looked toward the several hundred cultivators who had also appeared in this space. All of their expressions were ashen. Some cultivators looked at him with sympathy and a hint of comfort in their eyes. They were in the same boat. You've lost, Bai Ling said without turning her head to look at the dozens of images in the air. How did I lose? I clearly didn't die. I didn't even find the Black Water Lake. The trial isn't over yet. Li Tong yelled. Could it be that the time limit is up? He suddenly thought of a possibility and said. Bai Ling smiled lightly. Find the Black Water Lake? No, there's no Black Water Lake in that small world. Boom. Li Tong felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Then, he thought of another possibility. Finding the Black Water Lake in the trial was all a sham. Just like walking up a flight of stairs to the end, it was all a ruse. That's why Bai Ling nodded. That's right. The reason you lost the trial was because you abandoned your teammate when you had a chance to save him. Li Tong's breathing accelerated. He was dissatisfied and unwilling. Why? Saving him was a huge risk. Isn't it normal for me to make such a choice in order to survive? Bai Ling chuckled. I didn't say you did anything wrong. In reality, any choice you made in that situation was understandable. However, the 4-9 Immortal sect prefers people who are willing to risk their lives to save their teammate. I have the freedom to choose however I want. What does your opinion have to do with me? Li Tong's mouth gaped open in shock. Right at this moment, there was a commotion beside him. A brawny male sat up. Fellow cultivator Li Tong. What's going on? Why did we end up here after I rescued you from the mouth of the giant flood dragon? The man asked. Li Tong stared at the male beside him in shock. It was as if he had seen a ghost. Qing Ingxiong, you're still alive? Qing Ingxiong punched Li Tong's chest and laughed heartily. Hey, are you scared ***? I almost died, but didn't I save you and escape with you? Huh. Where is this place? Another familiar voice sounded. Li Tong. I'm so glad you didn't die. What? I rushed over to save you, but you were eaten by the huge flood dragon. I was so powerless at the time. The female's eyes were red. After seeing that Li Tong was safe and sound, she burst into tears of joy. Li Tong's expression was sluggish. It was as if something was stuck in his chest. It's fake, it's all fake. That was some kind of illusion, right? It's too stimulating. What a bully! Congratulations, Cheng Yingxiong, Ding Xiang. You two have passed the trial. Bai Ling smiled at the two of them. After a brief moment of confusion, Cheng Yingxiong and Ding Xiang both started to cheer. Although they didn't know how they had passed the trial, Bai Ling had said it herself. Everything was in order. That's right, Li Tong, you woke up earlier than us. Did you also pass the trial? Ding Xiang was elated. Li Tong shook his head silently. I failed. How? Why? Cheng Yingxiong exclaimed in shock. Li Tong stared at the lively Cheng Yingxiong and was speechless. Tears were about to fall from his eyes. What's going on with this awkward, strange, and sorrowful atmosphere? He couldn't say that he had failed because he didn't save Cheng Yingxiong. Chapter 774. On a huge screen, there were images of all the cultivators participating in the second trial. Tang Shimin looked at Li Tong, who had an expression of despair and indignation on his face. Li Tong's personality is actually very suitable for cultivation. Can't we make an exception and accept him? That's right, I feel like we'll lose a lot of good seedlings in the second trial. Su Qianyun also had an expression of sympathy on her face. Lin shook his head. I don't deny that we'll miss out on some talents this way. I also know that love doesn't mean you'll be able to go far on the path of cultivation. For someone like Li Tong who cherishes his life, perhaps he'll really be able to do very well in the future. However, I hope that our sect can be a bit more warm. It doesn't have to be the most powerful sect, but it should be a sect where everyone loves each other, a big family that values relationships. Think about it, there's a group of disciples who may not be the most outstanding, but they're extremely sentimental. They're people who are willing to take risks for the safety of their teammate. Wouldn't it be more reassuring to pass on cultivation methods to them? Lin's words caused Tang Shimin and Su Qianyun to fall silent. That's right, this kind of sentimental sect was what they were after. What was the point of a very badass sect where everyone only thought about themselves and lived for their own benefit? Su Xiaolan looked at Lin with a brilliant light in her eyes and a proud expression on her face. It was as if she was saying, "Look, my Dao partner's words are just so loving." Xianyuan Cheng and Lu Qianhuan also had expressions of approval on their faces. It was clear that they agreed with Lin's words. They were friends who had experienced life and death together, so Lin's words were very much to their liking. In the end, there were only 52 people left in the second trial. This wasn't to say that cultivators were all very cold and detached. It was just that cultivators all cherished their lives. Many people would choose to run away from teammates that they had only known for a short period of time. Li Tong wasn't that bad. He hesitated for a long time before choosing to run away. If Bai Ling's illusionary realm wasn't so despicable and used a negative example to persuade him to escape, then perhaps he would have gone to save his teammate. As for those who had been advised to escape, they still chose to risk their lives to save their teammate. In the eyes of the other cultivators, they might have thought that they were idiots. However, the 4-9 immortal sect loved idiots like him. Thus, the 52 people entered the final round. What surprised Lin was that Li Tong, who had failed to be selected, had resolutely chosen to participate in the trials for the Outer Pavilion disciples. For someone as arrogant as him, who also had extraordinary talent, it would actually be much better for him to go to other sections. Does he want to fight for a chance to enter the cabinet through the Outer Pavilion? Interesting. Lin chuckled as a hint of anticipation appeared on his face. Lin didn't dislike Li Tong. On the contrary, He felt that Li Tong was very real. Therefore, Lin also hoped that he could make some achievements. Then, among the 10,000 people, only half of them were willing to accept the trial as an outer pavilion disciple. Most of them were actually aiming to become a core disciple of the cabinet. Many of them weren't interested in becoming an outer pavilion disciple. They also knew that they were just there to run errands and didn't have much room for development. Xianyuan Cheng sent the people who were going to accept the trial as an outer pavilion disciple to the second trial ground. They had all deeply experienced the terror of being dominated by the terrifying trials designed by Bai Ling. Now, some of them were even trembling as they walked. Who knew what strange and terrifying trials awaited them in front of them? After a series of spatial warps, the other 52 trial takers arrived before Lin and the others. Among these 52 people who had entered the final round, there were 8 soul formation stage cultivators, 15 spirit nurturing stage cultivators, 20 Dao body stage cultivators, and 9 mortals with no cultivation bases. Lin had a rather deep impression of a little boy named Ning Rik among the mortals. In order to protect another boy, that little boy was bitten several times by a wild dog. However, he still cried and persisted in using rocks to smash the dog away. In the stairway trial, he also persisted until he was third from the bottom before giving up. This kind of mentality and temperament was completely unlike that of a 5- or 6-year-old boy. What was worth mentioning was that in the stairway trial, the second from the bottom to give up was Dragon Maiden Bailian. She persisted for a long time, and after fainting a few times from exhaustion, she finally gave up. At that time, even Lin couldn't bear to see her in such a pitiful state. Lin could still vividly remember the resentful look in Bailian's eyes after she came out of the stairway trial. Lin appeared before the 52 trial takers as the sect leader. His white robe fluttered in the wind, and there was a profound look in his eyes. Congratulations to all of you for passing 2 extremely difficult trials. Now you will proceed to the final round. Currently, the Dragon Pavilion, Sword Pavilion, Purple Star Pavilion, and Man Pavilion are open for disciple recruitment. You can choose one to join, but you cannot change your choice. After making your choice, the pavilion leader will also choose you. If he agrees to let you join the pavilion, then you've succeeded. If he doesn't, then you've failed. Everyone was in an uproar upon hearing this. If they were King unlucky and the pavilion leader didn't like them, then wouldn't they have failed? All their previous efforts would have been for naught? This type of recruitment method was far too willful. However, the 4-9 Immortal Sect's unique recruitment method. They were already used to it, so they didn't complain too much. Instead, they began to ponder over the matter seriously. They looked at Xiaozi, Lu Qianhuan, Bai Ling, and Little Lang as they pondered over which pavilion leader they would like more. Meanwhile, Bailian made her way over to Xiaozi. Xiaozi's eyes lit up. Bailian, the Dragon Pavilion needs a talent like you. A dainty smile appeared on Bailian's face. Thank you for your appreciation, Pavilion Leader Xiaozi. Please guide me in the future. Everyone was dumbstruck upon seeing this. Was it really that simple? A male cultivator was extremely excited as he made his way over to Lu Qianhuan. Pavilion Leader Lu, please guide me in the future. Lu Qianhuan looked at the male cultivator, and the projection of an ancient sword flashed past her eyes. She then shook her head with a hint of disappointment. Your aptitude in the Tao of the sword is too poor. I won't be able to teach you. I'm sorry. Boom. It was as if a bolt of lightning had struck him. The male cultivator's expression faltered, and he almost fainted upon hearing this. I failed? The reason I was rejected was because my aptitude in the Tao of the sword was too poor? A four-tailed firefox named Dongjun from the Myriad Mountain Realm stood up and ran over to the white-scaled wolf god's man pavilion. A female cultivator felt like the werewolf was quite easy to talk to, so she ran over to him. However, she was met with a miserable rejection. One cultivator after another was eliminated, and the remaining cultivators were all terrified. There were all kinds of reasons for rejection. No aptitude, you're not suitable, you're not smart enough, you're a good person, what the f*ck. The cultivators were about to have a mental breakdown. They had thought that they would be able to become a cabinet disciple with only a few dozen people remaining, but who would have thought that the elimination rate would be so high? Furthermore, the reasons for rejection made them want to vomit blood. In the end, there were 52 cultivators. Only 15 cultivators successfully became the core disciples of the inner cabinet. Lu Qianhuan's sword pavilion recruited the boy named Ning Rik, Ding Xiang, and Peng Yu, a spirit-nurturing stage sword cultivator. Xiao Zhe's dragon pavilion recruited Bai Lian of the dragon tribe, as well as Sun Xiaodai and Gong Shichen of the soul formation stage. The white-scaled wolf god's man pavilion recruited He Yexiang and O Huang of the Dao body stage, as well as the four-tailed fire fox Dongzhen of the spirit-nurturing stage, and the golden-furred lion man Jiang Ba of the soul formation stage. Bai Ling's purple star pavilion had taken in the most cultivators, and she was the one who had traumatized all of the cultivators. The smart mortals Chu Ming and Zhou Yu, the Dao body stage Meng Mei, and the spirit-nurturing stage Qing Yingxiong and Liu Bei. As for the other cultivators, some of them left in dejection, while others chose to participate in the trial for the outer pavilion disciples. Anlin heaved a long sigh as he looked at the departing cultivators. Some things couldn't be achieved just by being outstanding enough. For example, the selection of people this time was all about fate. Chapter 775. After being elected as a core disciple, Bai Lian was in a good mood and went to find Anlin. Sect leader Anlin, I'll be in your care in the future. Bai Lian was elated. Anlin smiled warmly. Learn from my disciple in the future. His inheritance is from the primordial dragon tribe, so his inheritance is very pure, unlike the dragon court of the eastern seas. Bai Lian's eyes widened upon hearing Anlin's words. Wait, what did you just say? Your disciple? Who's your disciple? Don't tell me he's my disciple, Xiao Zhe. Anlin pointed at Xiao Zhe with a smile. Only my friends know this secret, and I haven't announced it to the public. What do you think? Are you surprised? Bai Lian's body trembled slightly, and she stared at Anlin with incredulity. She took a deep breath. Are you kidding me? Master. Then I'll take the inner disciples to the Dragon Pavilion first to explain the things that they need to pay attention to in the sex life. Xiaozi walked over happily and asked. All right, go ahead. Anlin waved a hand. Bai Lian's lips were agape as she stared blankly at the scene in front of her. Why did everything seem so melodramatic? Xiao Zhe was her master. And Anlin was Xiao Zhe's master. Didn't that mean that Anlin was her grandmaster? Was this a surprise? This was King terrifying. Bai Lian clutched her chest as if 10,000 alpacas were stampeding over her heart. She looked at Anlin with a resentful expression and didn't say anything. She merely labeled him as a bully in her heart. What happened to fighting together? How did you become my grandmaster in the blink of an eye? Bai Lian couldn't describe her current feelings. She followed Xiao Zhe to the Dragon Pavilion with a pitiful expression and listened to his instructions. The 5,000 people's outer pavilion trial had completely ended after a day. The elimination rate wasn't very high this time. Only 3,000 people remained. However, the 5,000 people seemed to have experienced great torture. They were listless, and it was as if their bodies had been hollowed out. Some of the cultivators who managed to pass the trial laughed. In the end, however, their laughter looked uglier than crying. What exactly did they go through? Anlin was shocked. Xianyuan Cheng shook his head. I don't know. I heard from Big Sister Bai Ling that this trial seems to be a test of their overall abilities. Anyway, it's just throwing them into a black box and then simulating various scenarios to explore their human nature. It sounds very high-end, woof. Dabai had a curious look on his face. Dabai, from the looks of it, you seem to want to give it a try. Anlin laughed. Dabai had a conflicted look on his face. Frankly speaking, no one would want to suffer while living, but he was really curious about what was inside the black box. The more unknown it was, the more tempting it was, making people want to explore it. Moreover, dogs were very curious, as the saying goes, curiosity killed the dog. Bai Ling walked over after completing her mission. 3,000 outer pavilion cultivators were summoned by Bryce to carry out the aftermath. Big Sister Bai, what's inside the box? Woof. Dabai immediately pounced toward Bai Ling and wagged his tongue in circles. I'm not telling you. A mysterious smile appeared on Bai Ling's face. If you want to know, I can let you experience it for yourself. Dabai hesitated, and his white furry tail wagged uncertainly behind him. He could still remember the expressions of all the cultivators who had been sent out. All of them looked as if their bodies had been hollowed out, as if they had experienced something extremely terrifying. Dabai, some of the other cultivators were only Dao body stage cultivators, and some were even mortals, but they were still able to handle it. You're a half-step soul formation stage cultivator, but you're scared? Lin added fuel to the fire. Fine, I'll go. Woof. Dabai gritted his teeth and finally made a decision. Go, Dabai. Lin cheered. He wasn't going to tell Dabai that Bai Ling didn't want to tell him, but he could actually ask those 3,000 cultivators. He would just let Dabai go. Iku. Dabai left in high spirits. Under Bai Ling's guidance, Dabai entered the black cube. Lin and the others chatted idly as they waited for Dabai to return. Bai Ling, what's in there? Lin asked. Bai Ling narrowed her eyes with a smile. I'm not telling you. I can only reveal one thing to you, and that is that you'll discover the value of your dog life in there. Lin. Bai Ling's reputation as a trial designer was right there, and her words about discovering the value of his dog life sent chills down Lin's spine. An hour later, a hole appeared in the black cube, and a white figure appeared before everyone's eyes. The white figure wobbled as it slowly made its way out. Dabai stuck out his tongue, and his eyes glazed over as drool dripped from the corners of his mouth. Lin was dumbstruck upon seeing this. Had he gone King insane? This trial definitely had nothing to do with one's cultivation base, and it was exactly because of this that Dabai's symptoms seemed to be even more severe than the average person's. Dabai, are you all right? Lin's expression turned pale with fright as he rushed over. Dabai ignored Lin and shook its head before a foolish smile appeared on its face. What is filial piety? What is love? Lin turned to Bai Ling. What on earth did he experience? However, right at this moment, Dabai raised its head again. There's more to life than meets the eye. Lin looked at Dabai. There's poetry and the distance? Dabai remained silent. Lin continued, there's poetry that I can't understand and the distance that I can't reach? Dabai wiped the drool from the corners of its mouth before a foolish smile appeared on its face. There's also the foolish dog before me. Lin, there's more to life than meets the eye, there's also the foolish dog before me? Lin turned to Bai Ling expressionlessly. Is this what you meant by Dabai discovering the value of his dog life? Su Xiaolan also wore a pained expression. Why do I feel like Dabai is starting to doubt his dog life? Has he gone stupid? Everyone turned to look at Bai Ling. Under everyone's intense gaze, Bai Ling had no choice but to come clean. Alright, I actually let Dabai experience the joys and sorrows of a dog's life in the black illusion box. In that 1 hour, it felt like it had lived through a lifetime. It experienced everything a dog should experience, and the data feedback I received from the black illusion box. What's the feedback? Lin asked anxiously. The feedback is... Bai Ling turned to Dabai. Dabai is not a qualified dog. Lin, everyone, what does this have to do with him becoming like this? Lin asked with difficulty. Bai Ling sighed. He didn't want to be a dog, but he lived the life of a dog. Do you think you'd go crazy or would you feel good about it? Everyone was dumbstruck. They couldn't respond to this. And Lin walked over and patted Dabai's head with a pained expression. So, he became like this because he was forced to be a normal dog for a lifetime? That's why he's abnormal? Bai Ling massaged her brows. That's right. Su Qianyun blinked her bright blue eyes and said in a mellow voice, the abnormal Bai was forced to become normal, and that's why he's now completely abnormal compared to his original abnormal self. Lu Qianhuan tapped her chin with her index finger. That's so convoluted. Bai. Wake up. And Lin couldn't care less. He just wanted the original Bai back. Not the idiotic Bai Ling slap. 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 A sly smile suddenly appeared on Bai's face after he was slapped a few times. And Lin was ecstatic, thinking that the old Bai had returned. However, Bai was already muttering to himself, if asterisk ket a dog, hee, wah wah. Why do I have to f asterisk ck a dog, what did I do wrong? Wah wah wah. Bai suddenly began to wail with all his might. And Lin,